Hello and welcome everybody to the start of the coverage for the final round of the Glorney, Gilbert, Robinson and Stokes Cup, otherwise known as the Glorney Cup. We're in for quite a few hours of chess. With quite a lot of it's still a lot to be decided. And as a Welsh player myself, I'm FIDE Master Jonathan Blackburn. I'm going to be taking you through what's been going on in these games, what the situation is at the moment, and who needs to do what in the final round to get their nation of victory. Just in case you don't know what this is all about, it's a junior chess team event. Usually taking place around the UK and Ireland. So England, Wales, Scotland have teams. Ireland bring a team. Historically, like France, Belgium, and Netherlands, and Czech Republic, and a few other countries as well have been involved in Europe. But I think since costs have skyrocketed recently, it has mainly been the teams around the UK and Ireland. We also have an international team taking part this year as well, which is I think made up of children that are living in the UK, but they represent another country, such as Ukrainian refugees that have come over as well. But it's a mix of different countries as well. In the events, England have got two teams. They've got an England A and an England B. That gives us 6 teams in total. So England A, England B, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and the international team. So therefore, they're playing 5 rounds. The previous 2 days, they've had 2 rounds a day. Today is the last round. So this is why it's so important to cover it, because this is where titles are on the line, history could be made, and anything else alongside it. So let's have a look at the standings, and let me just double check that everything's live and working. Looks like it is, which is great. So hang on, let's have a look. So this is the main events. Okay, so you can go on to chess results, chess-results.com, and you click on England, and you can see that so it's just called Glorney Cup under 18, but it's got the other sections as well that we'll click on in a second. Fantastic news for me as somebody that represents Wales in chess, because here Wales have been doing fantastically well in this tournament. They're currently second to England, I guess joint second with the international team on 3 wins out of 4. England have got 4 wins out of 4. Wales were very unlucky last night. They could have had a draw with the international team, but a nice stalemate trick actually meant that they lost the match 3-2. There's over 5 boards in this section. This is the under 18 section. And so really the key match though is that it's England A currently leading 1 game point ahead as well against Wales today. That's the match. So it's England versus Wales today. So if Wales win, then we're going to be in for some tricky tie breaks, because if Wales win 3-2, then Wales would go on the same match points as England, so they'd both be on 8 match points, and then also the game points would be level because they gain an extra point. If they win by more than 3-2, so 3.5, 1.5, or 4-1, whatever it might be, 5-0 would be great, then they're going to win it because the game points would overtake them. So Wales have to win 3-2, and match points and game points would be level then. I don't actually know what would happen then. I probably should message somebody and find out during the stream if it's looking likely that would happen. But I would imagine something like direct encounter could mean that Wales win the Glorney Cup for, I think, the first ever time. I'm yet to be corrected on this and stating this, because I'm pretty sure we never won it during my day. And we had a strong team then as well. But I think the other countries were just so much stronger. So this is a big moment for Welsh chess. But England, again, very strong team. Both teams are actually performing quite well. I know the B team has not got as many points, but I don't think they've been a million miles away in where they played. Okay, let's hope that Scotland gets something on the board. So they've not been beaten 5-0. And actually, if we have a look at the individual scores from the Glorney, and we just start to scroll down, so the England players, their board 1's got 3.5 out of 4. Rahul Babu playing extremely well, top scorer for his team, highest rated player 2, but doing very well on board 1 there, playing against the best from the other countries. Ewan Kavar board 1, and Chen Chen and Ethan have all got 3 out of 4, pretty good. Roman Kowalski's got 3 out of 4 for the international team, but 3.5 from Matho Pranav. Strong scores. England B 1s and 2s. Ireland 1s, 2s, 1.5s, and then unlucky Janelle. You're having a tough tournament at the moment, but playing against some strong players. But halves, 1.5s, and 2s. And I think the one thing here that you can see is that not a single player has got 4 out of 4 so far, which is so far not at all, which just shows how strong this tournament is and how well matched they are. We know that obviously England could have some potentially stronger players playing. Shreyas Royal isn't here, for example, and he's not going to turn up. But and I guess you've got like Ethan Pang, who's 2200s, and Bodhana would technically get in the team, 2180, 2190, not playing. So it isn't the cream de la cream, but it is some top juniors in England, and they've put out a strong side, just about doing enough to stay ahead of our Welsh team, which is performing really well, and best of luck to them. Let's have a look at the Gilbert. This is named after Jessie Gilbert, who unfortunately lost her life many years ago, I think at a hotel, at a chess tournament actually. I did know Jessie. Before it was called the Gilbert, it was called the Faber Cup, and so that name change took place, I think, around 15-20 years ago. But at the moment, England A are storming ahead. They've got 4 wins out of 4. They have beaten their second place chasers Scotland in one of the rounds. So England A are actually playing against Wales today. So Wales, we need to upset England A. If we can upset England A, give Scotland a chance to catch them, then it's going to come down to that. But I think the problem is that it'd have to be a 3-0 whitewash for Wales, and then also a 3-0 whitewash for Scotland on who they're playing, and they're playing against England B, which is highly unlikely to happen. So it's looking like the Gilbert is going to be going to England this year, because even if England A lose, Scotland win, both results have to be a 3-0 in order for Scotland to overtake England. So it does go to head-to-head. Somebody's put in the chat, thank you very much, everyone's favourite CM. Ireland and international team, let's hope you get some more points on the board as well, but good to see. Let's have a look at the individual scores, just to see if there's any individual players that are playing really well. So they've had 4 games so far. So England A have got 3.5, still not 4 out of 4, but strong showing. 2-2, 3.5, 3s and 2s, and so nobody's on 4 points out of 4. So I guess this is really good, showing that there's competitive games all around. I know that quite a lot of players here will be disappointed with what they've got, and they've left some points out there, but that's just the nature of the competition. Let's go down to so back in my day, it just used to be the Glorney Faber or the Glorney Gilbert. There didn't used to be any of these younger age group sections, and obviously the Glorney was 5 boards, the Gilbert was 3 boards. Here we've got the Robinson and Stokes, so these are the under 14 and under 12 teams. This is played over 6 boards. Let's have a look at the Robinson first of all, the under 14. So overall, England A have won all 4 matches, doing extremely well. They've got to play against Wales today. Basically, we're hoping for a Wales win to try and lead the teams that are in second place, which is England B and Scotland. If they can score heavily and win their matches and Wales do them a favour, then they could potentially catch England A. But judged on current form, it's going to be unlikely that England A don't beat our Welsh team. But obviously we hope that will happen. But depending if you're an England fan or a Wales fan, we'll have to see how it goes. It should be England A's to wrap up. But anything could happen there if Wales get a little lucky. I hope that Ireland maybe get something on the board against the international team, struggling for points as well. But let's have a look at the individual games, individual results, to see how they're getting on. Is anybody on 4 out of 4? So even England A, their board 1 is only on 1.5 points, Zach Welling, but leading the team, playing against the highest average rating there. Look, he's playing against an average rating of 1908, and then it drops to 1600 for the next 2 and 3 boards. So he's had the toughest matchups. Okay, so here we've got a few 3.5s down here. Aditya Mattel and Daniel Meredith really pulling in the points for the England team. England B, Rock Hughes pulling in the points with 3.5, and then 3 there for Ewan Ding. Down here we've got for Scotland, we've got Alagu and Yashwardhan with 3 out of 4. Yashwardhan did well to hold that game to a draw actually yesterday. That was pretty good. And then the Welsh team, you'll see not very many points. And then we've got the first 4 out of 4 that we've seen. David Balochkin for Wales on board 6. Absolutely destroying it. Hoping to go for 5 out of 5 today. So we'll keep an eye on him. He might be player of the tournament if he scores 5 out of 5. Even though it's on board 6, that's still a hugely massive achievement. You know, playing against some really top players elsewhere. Okay, Nicholas here, 3.5 out of 4 for the international team on board 1 is a really strong showing. And Ayaman Ganguly with 3 out of 4 too. And then the Irish team, with their top performers, Rona Shankar on 2.5. Struggling for points, but it's so tough up there. Some of these players look like they're unrated, but sometimes you find that these players from Ireland, they might not have a rating, but they're actually pretty strong. Let's have a look at the Stokes then. So England A are clearly ahead in most of the events, and this does not change. They have actually dropped 1 match point though in the Stokes competition. So they've won all their games apart from one, which was against England B, which they drew 3-3, and they scored 5-1, 5-1, 5.5 half victories in their other 3 matches. So they're looking pretty strong. And the problem is that they get to play Wales today in the last round, who are currently lingering at the bottom of the table. So they've scored so heavily against the stronger opposition, and against Wales today, I cannot see anything but an England A victory. Unfortunately, the Wales team, I think, has had a few dropouts and is a little bit weaker than normal. So I don't quite know what's going on there with the Welsh under-12 team, but it is definitely struggling. And all I really want to see them do today is just take their time with their moves, and just put a good showing out. Really, don't make it easy for your opponent to beat you. But we'll have a look at those games maybe first, because some of those games could be over already. They started 13 minutes ago. But the international team scored quite well. They're only 1 match point behind. Ireland's doing all right. England B and Scotland with 3 match points. So we'll have a quick look at the individual round scores. NBA on 4 out of 4. So England A. Aditya Vaidyanathan is on 4 out of 4, doing very well as Ramsey Diary. Congratulations so far to you two, but 3.5 Shamartha and Rezin doing well as well. We've got from the international team Talab Rami on 4 out of 4, doing extremely well, especially on board 1, but you'd expect that with a 2033 rating, playing against an average of 1800. However, still to do it consistently is really tough. Ireland's, their top scorers are Ethan Cole and Cornelius Barczak on 3 out of 4 on boards 2 and 3 respectively. England B got a host of 2.5s, but Arav Katakuri on 3 out of 4 is doing alright. Scotland, Adith Prabhu on 2.5 out of 4 is their top scorer. And then Wales, we've got James Chung with 1 win early doors, but unfortunately a lot of losses. Again, a very young team there. But okay, that's the state of play. Basically, England A are winning every event. Wales can upset them in a few of them, but it's looking unlikely. But the main one would be the Glorney Gilbert, the Glorney, which is the under 18 section, which I've got on my screen right here. And you can see that they're just starting some of their opening moves, and it's a 5-board event. I can't believe that Aditya Shrivastava and Sathya Vaidyanathan, I can't believe that that's a victory for Black already. That doesn't seem like it's right. I think some of these are labelled as 1-0s and 0-1s. That can't be accurate. I think we'll hopefully see some more moves, unless something crazy's happened. It looks a little mental. So it looks like we've got a Petrov here on Rahul Babu versus Ewan Cave. Looks like that's Bence has played an exchange French against James Merriman, maybe. Dylan Duke looks like a Sicilian against Chen Shen Wu. Ellison Smith, he's played. So it's like a perk by Carl Pelling. He's played with f4 and a d5. Aaron Rich is playing this kind of b3 kind of f4 kind of stuff, which looks a little bird-like, but it's not quite a bird's. So anything exciting going on in these games? Scotland versus England B also happening. So we've got a Petrov there. We've got a Benko Gambit there by Ruben Evans. That could be quite exciting in a few moves' time. This is another kind of perky kind of thing, but a delayed bishop g7. Another French. Good to see the French out. It seems to be quite a popular opening, actually, the French, amongst many top juniors, and I can see why. It is a top opening. It's quite an interesting position. So these are just coming out their openings, and usually the older players tend to take their time a little bit more. That's why I'm taking the overall view and not going into just a quick game. So nothing out of the ordinary here. So I'm just going to have a quick flick onto the Gilbert, and let's see what's going on. Emily Matten versus Emma Kong. Looks like a standard opening at the moment. Black's got to get c5 in, and the girls tend to take their time as well. So we've got a few different openings. Oh wow, this one looks quite interesting here. Let's have a quick look at this game, just to see how did this develop. So this is Sarah Kundan Khan versus Nicole White. So the international team. So Sarah's got the Indian flag there. Nicole White's from Ireland. I just don't know. Okay, so this came from a Caro. Oh, that's probably why then. If one of my colleagues is watching, probably why Black might lose this. So what happened here? Queen takes d5. Is that a normal move? I don't know anything about the Caro at all. I don't want to click on the book to find out. I want somebody to tell me. Is Queen takes d5 a move in the Caro, or is this just nonsense? I've got absolutely no idea. Let me just check a few things. Okay, so no, it's not normal at all. Okay, so move 3 was a little suspect, and this gives White some easy developments. Oh wow, this queen is moving quite a lot. Is this maybe preparation from Nicole White and from her coach, from the Irish coach that's with them maybe? And here she plays queen g6 to attack this pawn, and Sarah Kundan Khan just says, nah, I'm not bothered, take it, go on, take it. So she goes, okay, I'll take it. Rook g1, and White gets loads of development here. This queen just gets hit and hit and hit, and now these white pieces are just all over black. So here we've got a threat. e6 tablet gets played. Bishop g5. Wow, look at the white pieces. All of this just for the cost of a pawn. This is only not really use much time to get to this situation at all. But if I was playing black here, I definitely wouldn't have only used 4 minutes to get to this position where my opponent's got all of their pieces developed, and I've got nothing. I've won a pawn, which is great, but seriously, you can't play that quickly, and unless this was preparation, which I very much doubt. And maybe now she's just weighing up this idea of playing f6, which would be a huge mistake. F6 would be a huge mistake because, this queen h5 check tactic that everybody knows. It's all on every single puzzle rush or puzzle storm, puzzle race, or whatever you play. And we block with the pawn again, then we can take with the knight. And okay, you might be winning even if you take a couple of things. This queen's going to take this rook on a h8, and it's all over. White has won. So this is already in territory where black can go very, very wrong. And I guess really what she's doing with this bishop g5 move, if White decides to block with a bishop, then it takes away the protection from the g7 pawn. And if White just wins the pawn back, then White's just going to say, I've got loads more development. So this is looking like a really interesting game. Hopefully now Nicole starts to think, but I would have thought maybe a good few moves ago, especially in the opening, because that is definitely a bit of a dodgy opening there. A little bit off piste, shall we say. Okay, let's switch to the younger groups, because usually they unfortunately move a little bit faster. But we should get still some good games in this Robinson tournament. So this is the under 14. They usually know to take their time a little bit more here, which is pretty good. I'm just having a look to see if there's any interesting opening lines being played. We might have a quick look at David Bolochkin's game in a second. Okay, but everything else is looking pretty normal. Maybe Connor Beatty turned up a little bit late, or maybe he took loads of time. It's okay, let's just double check. So this is all looking pretty standard. Nice Grunfeld here. Okay, oh, we've got a checkmate threat over here as well, so we'll have a look at these couple of boards here. So this is Liam O'Keefe versus Odin Flanagan, wow, I mean it's we're only 20 minutes into the game. 30 moves have been played, and we have a checkmate threat on G7 already happening. Liam O'Keefe's not used a single second of his time. Don't quite understand why that would be the case, but he's a piece. No, he's an exchange down, but he's about to win the exchange back if he does bishop takes rook, which I'm assuming he will do. Let's just have a look at this. This was very quick play by both players. Okay, so c5 here. I think Odin here is playing the. I think if Charlie's watching, Charlie's story, he calls this the sniper. He's written the book about it with this pawn coming out here. And okay, this is all. Okay, so we had the checkmate threat here. He didn't hesitate to threaten checkmate on f7. And it got stopped. So here I might have been tempted to play d5 if we can get away with it as black here, if I was in Odin's shoes. Okay, oh wow, he took a pawn on b2. So this is why Liam is down the exchange initially, because he ignored this pawn on b2, moved his bishop away from it, it just got taken. But then Odin was like, well, whenever you do the fianchetto, if you get rid of your dark square bishop, it's extremely risky. And the dark squares for black were terrible. So now I guess he could take it back. But if he takes it back, he'll just be a pawn down, won't he? So maybe try and take advantage of that dark square bishop being a great piece. Perhaps he's taken it, but so I guess black's a pawn up, and Odin will be relatively happy. He's stopped 2 checkmate threats and looking pretty good. To be honest, and I did also just wonder what was going on in this position. Actually, what on earth has happened here? This is a little crazy. We have a checkmate threat here as well. Let's just go back to see how this. Oh, that's why Caro card. So here, okay. So actually, it's for the Caro card now. So maybe this is good. So this is this 2 knights thing that's quite popular at the moment. So black starts to advance, and after taking here. Very sneaky move by Athav here against Alexis Christoph. He plays knight b4, and he's got a very sneaky threat of, well, checkmate. That would be gone wrong. Move 3 again in the chat. Move 3 is wrong. So these children not taking their time, playing wrong on move 3. I mean, this checkmate threat here is pretty sneaky. Very, very common idea in the opening. But all of this should not be allowed. So hang on, where did this go wrong then? So here we get knight f3, and then here at this point d4 is not the move that you're meant to play really. I mean, it has been played before, but it's not the main move at all. It's basically an offbeat move. So if this is preparation, then fair enough, you can play it quickly. But if you don't know what you're doing in this situation as black and you just rushed out d4, what on earth were you thinking? You're playing for your country on the international stage. You've got to try and put your best foot forward. Why you're not taking your time here? Okay, bishop here and taking the main 2 moves. But this isn't necessarily too bad, I guess. But black's definitely pushing their pawns forward, and c3. Okay, so this. Okay, so actually, if we take the book off here for a second, this move knight b4 is actually, if white just stops this, then white might just be a pawn up perhaps. But I guess he's considering whether he plays knight g3. Or whether he actually plays queen here to try and stop the checkmate. If he plays his queen out, his queen could get distracted, so it's pretty scary that you could lose the game next move if you're not careful. Okay, we'll see how that develops. Hopefully they're now realising that this is pretty scary. They don't want to lose on the international stage really quickly, or at least we hope they don't. And they will hopefully start taking their time. I did want to have a look at this game, because David Bolochkin's on 4 out of 4, and he's playing probably his toughest test yet in Daniel Meredith. So this is a London system against the King's Indian, but he's transposed here. This is quite a wise decision actually. In c4, and c4. So if it was a London system, he'd be putting this pawn on c3. But here he transposes to a Queen's Gambit kind of setup. And then with e4 just doesn't make any sense at all. Because now it's almost like he's playing the Queen's Gambit setup, but here you would never put this bishop on f4. You pretty much put this bishop on every other square. apart from f4. I've seen it go to d2, but usually e3 or g5. So this is not the best transposition in the world. Although with black playing c5 here, which they've both done this really quickly, this is not theory. Why are they rushing here? This is bad. I don't understand why they're playing so quickly, because I'd be completely out of theory here. This is not theory. Is somebody telling me that this is theory? It's only got a couple of games here in the. I mean, here, like if you played e3, yeah, I can understand that this has been played before. But e4, this is definitely not theory. Why has only 1 minute been taken? And then c5 got instantly played. I mean, if I was playing black here, the move to try and get in at some point is e5, because you get the tempo on the bishop. I'm not saying that c5 is bad, of course, but now after this, the e6 takes and takes. There's a pawn on d6 here, which actually basically making this bishop on f4 looking like a good piece. When actually beforehand it wasn't that good a piece, and Daniel's done that. And they've played ever so quickly to get to this situation, and there goes the pawn. There is a line where black does give up this pawn, by the way, in the other back variation of the Queen's Gambit versus the King's Indian. And actually the move that gets played here is, I think it might be Queen b6, or maybe even before it, and then you're able to move the rook out. But here rook e8, another pawn goes, and this isn't so bad for black. Don't think that white's winning here because they've got 2 pawns for free. They have not. Black's pieces are very active, and this is extremely dangerous. And here you get this out. The knight is pinned, so therefore knight takes e4 is possible. The rook is looking down on this white king. Of course, the bishop is under attack as well, which is why he has to go b4. Queen a6, and now he's played, which I can't understand at all, because you're 2 pawns up. The only thing you want to do here is you go, oh no, massive danger to me. Massive danger. I'm going to get checkmated here if I'm not careful. I've got to get my king castled. I'm 2 pawns up. I can let 1 pawn go. I can even let 2 pawns go. So long as I get my king castled, I'm going to be safe. But there's also problems coming down here though as well. I mean, this is for only 8 minutes used on the clock. I'm having kittens here. But my instinct would be to probably even sack an exchange and go bishop e2 and just castle. And if we do lose, let's say we lose this rook for this bishop, we'll just accept that because we've got 2 pawns for it. Even if we lose one of those pawns, I'd still take a pawn for it. But I don't want to lose a free piece, of course. But like, let's say, for example, something like bishop e2, maybe this happens, we take here, bishop takes here, and then queen takes. Maybe something like this. Oh, we've got a knight f6 check coming in as well, which is quite nice. So black might have to defend against that, which is, really difficult to defend against, actually. So that would be quite an interesting line. So therefore we can't say that. So maybe here at this point black actually takes this pawn, unleashes this discovery, and you can see just how problematic it is for white already. What does white do here? Bishop e2, bishop taking on e4. Okay, so we've sacked a piece, so actually we can afford to give a piece away in order to get out of this, if that makes sense. Can we do that? Can we? Don't even know. Yeah, because the problem is we can't go back to here because this gets taken, and if we take it back, there's a queen and rook on it, and they can just take this rook for free, and we can't take it because it's mate. But maybe this is what we have to do, and then castle here. And we're not 2 pawns up anymore. We're in exchange down and lost. So this is really bad. So this game could be over already. But David's tried knight b5 without much thought. And to be in this position with only 9 minutes used is criminal, really. But kind of for both players. I mean, Daniel's playing on instinct here, but I'd have definitely used a bit more time. I don't even know if he's going for this threat. This is just greedy. But I mean, black is just surely having the fun of this position. Probably just take this, to be honest, because if this knight moves, you can go bishop c3 check. So just take the pawn on e4, attack the rook. You know, you might not even take the rook. You're actually looking for checkmate. We just want to open up the e-file for this rook on this king. But yeah, big trouble if you ask me. David is here, and very early on indeed. Let's have an overall look before we look at the youngest children that are playing in this event. So okay, overall look, anything else exciting going on? There's a big pawn mass here against Danilo Shevchenko. I don't know where that pawn mass came from. We'll spend some more time on that later though. But that's the only... Yeah, oh hang on a minute, what's happened here? Is this game over already? We're only half an hour in. The game is over. Oh, that's why you play the Karo Khan. Must be why the game is over. So this is 1700s against each other. So this is okay. I can understand them blitzing out these moves. So isn't Queen B3 one of the main moves here? Maybe taking on D5 first and then Queen B3. Is Bishop E3 a move? Bishop E3 is a move, but by far not the most popular move at all. So White was still blitzing out these moves and very confident, and I guess they just get their pieces out. White's going forwards. Black has not used a single second at all yet. They actually gained time on their clock. This is not the way to play chess. You've got to be thinking a lot more about your moves. Well, this is an interesting decision. So basically, Bishop G5 comes in, H6 gets played instantly, and after Bishop takes Knight, he realises that after Queen takes Bishop, Knight D7 would fork his Queen and Rook. So therefore, he has to stay back with the pawn, and immediately his King is open, and White just goes, right, let's go and checkmate that King. And actually here, after King H7, it was Queen D2, and maybe this threat of Queen takes H6 is unstoppable now, and it's basically game over with checkmates unstoppable. Well, maybe you had a long trip home, and that's what you, yeah, that's maybe what you're after, and that's what you get if you rush your moves. Really poor play. Shouldn't really be in an international event, but then again, we're going to see worse as we look through the games. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so he has stopped the checkmate back there. Okay, so let's go down to the Stokes, and then we'll have a look at the openings from the Glorney as well. Okay, so these are even younger children, under 12s, and I'm pretty sure that in the Welsh camp they will have been absolutely hounded for, how shall we say, rushing their moves, I think, earlier on in this tournament. So I'm expecting them to be taking their time a lot more, although whether that happens or not is a different story. So England A, if they beat Wales, which if you go on current form and ratings is very likely to happen, then we could be in some big trouble. What on earth has happened in this game already? We are only half an hour in. 1 hour 20, 1 hour 33. Ditcher's not used a single second, but I guess he can get away with it because he's a piece and pawns up. How has this happened so far? Well, I mean, I don't know why they aren't listening either, but maybe it's because they want to lose. Okay, they don't obviously want to lose, but we have to sometimes have these difficult conversations and tell them, look, if as soon as you make a mistake, that can be game over. And for a young child, I mean, the thing is here, right, this is 1650 here. You'd expect the coach to, whoever's coaching them, to be saying, look, if you're playing against a Sicilian, you can at least have a line against it. And I'm pretty sure Bishop C4 is not one of the main lines against the Sicilian. So I'm pretty sure Andre doesn't even have a line against the Sicilian, and that's pretty shocking just not to have a line. Could have had watch a 20-minute video in the morning or like late last night to actually get a variation against the Sicilian. It's better than nothing. You can do that yourself. There's so much information out there on YouTube. Why wouldn't you do that? You can see that Aditya probably plays the Sicilian in every one of his games. So this is shocking, a really bad opening for White. And this is why he's lost the centre already. Easy development for Black. And it's kind of transposed to an exchange French. But Black's quite happy with the situation. And here he plays B3. So rather than just doing the simple things right, which is just, well, why not just get castled? This is a simple move, isn't it? Just getting castled. Why not do that? And then decide what to do. But instead plays B3, tries to do something about this pawn. In doing so, weakens the knight. and actually only took 1 minute to think over it as well. Really bad. And then after the bishop pins the knight, rather than unpinning it this way so that there's no more problems, plays bishop b2, and then the queen comes out to attack the knight again. Queen goes forward, the knight comes in, and now you've basically lost a piece to a very simple pin that you learn right at the start. Yeah, this is unfortunately really poor play. And the thing is, it's not even the second game of the day. 5 games of classical chess, but I don't think they can say that they're tired. And that's basically game over, and that's why we're into this position here at the end, and black's just going to take all the pieces and win easily. Okay, yeah, it's game over already. Really sad to see, but maybe they watch this video afterwards, and hopefully the message hits home, because they have to change. Right? They can't keep doing the same thing, and it's not actually their chess skill that I'm bothered about. It's the fact that they're rushing their moves and not thinking about their moves. If this had happened after maybe an hour or something like that, then fair enough, okay? Your chess skill's just not there. But you've got to give yourself the opportunity and time to do things like that. Okay, so the other games, George versus Adam is looking pretty solid, actually. They're only on move 10. Adam's used up quite a lot of time. Fair play. Okay, he's got an IQP to deal with here. But his pieces are active, and that's what you get when you get an IQP, so I'm okay with that one. But that's over. Yeah, so Aditya has beaten Andre. Andre's just resigned, which just makes sense. Here we've got Shrivastan versus Otto. And okay, not really liking Otto's position, but he's taken his time. That's alright. It's not a problem. James Chung looks like he's doing okay against Ramsey Diary, who's on 4 out of 4, by the way. So Aditya, actually, that takes him to 5 out of 5, I believe. Really strong score from Aditya, and great tournament for him. So that's looking pretty solid. Arthur Kendall versus Amir Jamil. Yeah, looks like they're both taking the time. Looks like an interesting game. Okay, some weird double pawns, but any exciting openings here? So Konstantin Popov. So interesting time usage here for move 7. And Konstantin's used 2 minutes, and Rezin Katabi maybe overdoing it here with using nearly half an hour, let's say 27 minutes over the moves. It's just a simple French defense, right? But I don't understand. You're at an international event. Surely the coach would show you what to play against the French defense. Is it a surprise that Rezin has played the French here? I don't even know that. So it's and here, okay, it's a bit of an unusual line. I wouldn't be recommending a young junior to play that, but why they can't just learn a simple line against the French seems to be very unusual. Okay, so Junior Tavish, okay, Ayana Vik, these all look pretty sensible. Okay, Oscar Yip versus Junyun Hu, we might take a look at that game. Everything else is looking at that bishop's going to get recaptured. Over here, that's gone quite far. Let's just have a quick look at this game here between Oscar Yip and Junyun Hu. So this looks like it's developed very quickly, and Junyun Hu has got an exchange up already, but there is a massive knight on d6. But I'm not really so sure it's going to stay there for very long. In fact, at all, it's just going to get taken, isn't it? So is this a win for the English lads against Oscar? It looks like it is. So we got Sicilian. So d5, c3, e5, and now it's like a better version of a Caro if the bishop comes out. But he plays d4, which is a very good move actually. And now it's almost like a French defense, but he's basically a pawn down. It's not that bad of one though, actually. This isn't a bad French. So how did the exchange get lost? Oh, I see. So white came out to win a pawn, but didn't realise that actually it's this pawn that white's got extra, and it's actually not the greatest pawn in the world. Black's got the d5 square, and obviously the activity for the bishop as well. And then basically the knight came in here, and this check threat here and here was just too much for him, and lost the exchange, and he's just basically lost. Because why not just take this knight? He's sending me a message. Oh, live chess. So he's taking the pawn. I'm guessing pawn takes back, and then we'll just take the knight off. And rook up for a knight. The bishop will be a one endgame, or it should be a one endgame anyway. Let's just have a quick look at the other boards. We've got the international team here against Ireland on these 6. And, oh, there's the king in the centre of the board over here. Thomas Sims and Rubiales looks like a decent game. Decent game over here. The king's in the open here, which could be interesting. Talavarami against Nitish Arun. That could be an interesting position. But I've got to go to this one because there's a king on d6. Oh, there's no queens on the board. Whoa, so quick. What's going on here? How did this develop? And so this king came active in the endgame, which I guess is kind of a good thing. But then he missed that this pawn goes, and then this check happened, this check happens. The king is it being rounded up? Is this going to be checkmate? So if king c6, have we got knight fd4 checkmate? Is that checkmate? Sometimes it's difficult to tell, looks like. Did Wales send a coach? I don't think so. But if they did, would the kids listen to them? Is another story. Because I don't think there's any money to maybe pay for a coach to go. I know that I wasn't asked or even tempted, but there's a lot of easy stuff to do. But I'm sure. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I should imagine that the other nations will have a general coach there with them. It seems like a complete wasted opportunity if you go to a tournament like this without a coach. No matter how good or bad the coach might be. So king c6 loses instantly. King c4, is there a checkmate there? Yes. Oh, no, there isn't. You've got the d3 square. Yes, there is. There's knight there, checkmate, if king c4. So this is game over. Game over. So it looks like Furin's going to win against George here. 1 hour 24 on the clock. Not good enough, I'm afraid, time usage. I'm sure your chess is actually pretty good, but you can't rush like this. I mean, here, for example, after this check, he could just go back to e7, right? He could just go back this way. What was the need to bring the king forward? It's a shame. I hope you can play better in future. I did just want to have a look at this game. This is a board 1 clash between Talavarami, who's scoring really well, Nitish Arun from Ireland as well, 2 really strong players. And it just looked like an interesting game, actually. And we'll get to the Glorney in a second. I know that's the one that you all want to see. So you've got a really interesting opening. Black's taken a few risks here. Like, for example, this b6 move, not prioritising castling. Maybe it's some sort of preparation, but to move the knight twice, White's castled, ready to scrap. Black is not ready for a scrap here. And captures. Okay, gets his bishop out. Isolated queen's pawn. And now what Talab is trying to do is just trying to give every kind of attacking move he can to stop Black from castling and seeing if he can win something before that happens. I'm not sure, though, where the next attack is actually coming from. Maybe e4, actually. This is probably what he's thinking about. If you can play e4 here, this is going to be really problematic for Nitish. Because, okay, just simply taking the pawn next go, if Black just castles, if they take it, then we take with the bishop. And it's not just the attack on the rook. We've also got the h7 pawn eyed up. So therefore castling now would be temporarily impossible because the h7 pawn would go. I guess maybe you could even take it straight away, but maybe not too soon. You don't want to open up the file against your own king. So yeah, maybe Talab will play this e4 move, which is looking pretty interesting. But okay, just a quick scroll back round. Unfortunately, a loss for Wales on board 2 there. But it looks like all the other games are actually going to be some decent fights, which is good to see. Let's go to the openings in the Glorney because these will hopefully take a lot longer time. So just have a quick overview just to see if there's any, shall we say, I'll have a look at Bence's game in a second. Looks like that's going quite interestingly. But any disasters or anything like that. Ethan looks like he's got quite a bit of pressure on Aaron Rich. Let's just flip to the second page. So we've got a few more games here. This is only 5 boards per team. And those games are also looking pretty good too. But let's just scroll back this way and have a look at some of these positions here. So I just want to have a quick look at Bence's position here. We've only got 7 moves played in this game, 46 minutes in. Okay, Bence has only used 8 minutes. James is a little bit used a lot more. Playing his black in this exchange French. Easily blitz out these moves, but this H3 move, kind of not giving the opponent the move, but how should I say, maybe not being as critical as before. It's I don't know, a little bit strange, but yeah, I guess it's useful because you don't want the bishop coming to g4 to pin the knight when you bring it out to f3. So okay, so we get some sensible development, and then okay, so this c4 move here is really interesting. You know, are you going to take? Are you going to push on the bishop? Knight f6 played by James Merriman after a bit of a chunk of thought there, and then queen b3. And Bence is just asking some questions of his opponent here. He's saying, do you know what? I might just nab this pawn if you're not careful. If you don't do something about it, I might take this pawn. Maybe a bit of preparation from Bence, but definitely causing his opponent some time to think here as well, actually. I don't think he's serious about taking this pawn and holding on to it. I mean, one, he can't because the knight can just take it back immediately because he's got this bishop b4 discovered check at the end. So it's just asking this question, right? I'm attacking your pawn on b7. What are you going to do about it? I'm not committed to taking it yet. What are you going to do? You're going to defend it? You're just going to castle and let me take it, then move your knight and get some quick development? Just asking the question, and this could force a mistake here actually from James. So we're only 7 moves into the game. Really, you know, I don't think it's problems that James can't solve. I expect him to solve it and to get a good position out the opening, and the game not to be won or lost here, shall we say? But you know, if you don't try, you don't get, and you know, long times ahead. Have a look at the main game on board 1 between Rahul Babu, scored 3.5 out of 4 so far against Owen Cave, who's on 3 out of 4. Let's just go back to the opening. So it's this Petrov. Oh yes, okay, we saw from afar that it was going to be like this. So we get kind of like I want to say an exciting game because we've got a opposite side castling, but I mean it was a Petrov after all. I mean it can't be that exciting. But I think Owen Cave would be quite happy with how this has gone. He's managed to get c5 and d5 in, which I'm pretty sure when I was playing the Petrov online, I don't think I ever got in. So I think maybe Rahul's maybe misplayed this slightly because those central pawns of blacks are looking pretty strong. And even though he's played h4 and this kind of, yes, I want to shove my kingside pawns up at you, I'm not so sure that this has actually got much bite. What's he go? He goes to h5, he goes to h6. Okay, he forces black to play g6, but what then? And it is a long-term thing having that pawn on h6, but it can only do so much damage, right? And the problem is it's really difficult for him to play g4 now. Okay, there's bishop and knight on it, but I mean also this knight comes here so quickly. Black's bishop can come to 2 different squares, 3 different squares even. I prefer Black's position in this situation. I think having 2 pawns here, because you know, isn't there some way of like place c5? Isn't there some way of stopping this move? It must be, surely. This can't be. Is this theory? So bishop d3 is the main move here, but I mean, there's not really many moves played, to be honest. But h4 has been played by some top players, and d5's not been played by any top players. So we're in a completely fresh position here, but I like what Ewan's done. So it's looking pretty good. Okay, let's take the overall viewpoint, pick out any interesting situations that are going on at the moment. We've got an interesting sacrifice over here, actually, by Carl Pelling on Alison Smith. He has played, so only, again, you know, you compare it to the other children that are playing in the other sections. Some of them have finished their games already and they're going home. Here we've only got 7 moves on the board, and big things to think about for Ellison. b5's just been played. Carl's basically saying, take me, and he's just a pure pawn sacrifice in the style of the Benoni, very common idea, and I'm sure Ellison is, well, he has to take this pawn, I believe. You can't not do it. It's just deciding which piece to take it with. And don't get yourself in too much time trouble, Ellison. You kind of have no decision, right? You've got to take the pawn. Retreating doesn't seem like it's going to be any good. You just give black a free hand on the queen side. So you almost like have to accept the gambit. Take it with the bishop, I think, is best. Keep the knight where it is. And maybe bishop a6 will get played against you, maybe a6. But I think you just leave it up to your opponent and then analyse the position from there. But a little bit of pressure being applied, but I don't think it's going to be winning the game just yet. Just resizing my screen, is that okay? Let's just make it a little bit. There we go. Leave it there. Okay, where else are we? So interesting positions. Okay, yes, so we'll just have a look at the other games. So Wales have to beat England here. And Ethan McGrath looks like you can just see, can't you, from where the pieces are, that he's got a little bit of pressure. As long as I'm counting them up correctly, those black pieces are looking like they're swarming over the the white king side. Let's just have a look at the opening here, though, because this is interesting. Okay, so this is why then. So Aaron's playing 1b3. I don't know if this is his main opening or not, but I mean, it can definitely be a useful opening, so long as it's not something that you're doing all the time. You know, you probably should have one of the central pawn moves as your main weapon. But okay, as every now and again, it should be okay. And Ethan just doing the simple things correctly. Bishop b5, d6. Okay, doubling the pawns to the loss of the bishop actually isn't that bad for black. And you know, you give this bishop this diagonal, and you know, black's pieces an extra pawn towards the centre. It's not the end of the world. And then knight e2 is an interesting move. Yeah, and he goes for this f4 move, and if he can take, it's fantastic. Even if he doesn't win the pawn, the idea is that then these two pawns on the c file do become very weak. But Ethan does the right thing in pushing forward. And look at that black pawn mass. He might have double pawns, but okay, we're starting to get some. And these black pieces are starting to. I don't think there's a win. Oh, he's threatening to win a pawn here. So bishop takes knight, has to take back with the queen, and then he wins a pawn on g3. But I think his bishop might. Oh, it doesn't get stuck in at the end. No, he's okay. And he can take with the bishop first as well, and actually fork the queen and rook with the knight, which would be really nice. So he's got a threat here actually, White plays knight d4 to attack the c6 pawn. In exchange, he says, I don't care about this. You can double my pawns all you want. Which he can, and he can do so at any time. And Ethan plays a really smart move here in queen d7. And just defending the pawn and just keeping the pin on this knight. Bishop a3 has just been played on the board, 14 moves in. Okay, the rook is attacked on f8, but it's quite easy to move it out of the way. And you have to ask, you know, this bishop, you know, it's going to be on this diagonal. This knight on d4 they look great, right? They look like really good pieces, but actually, I'm not so sure they are. Okay, this move would be perfect to kick the knight away, which can't be done because of the bishop. I'd actually say this bishop's in a defensive position to prevent c5. And this knight is very precariously placed on d4. If c5 ever comes in, it's going to have to shoot straight back to e2, which is not where it wants to go. So, for example, is there a plan here of rook b8? Oh, no, we can't go to b5. Oh, that's a shame. He'd probably just play rook e8 then, I should imagine, just keep it centralised. But he has got quite a lot of choice of where that rook could go. I definitely don't want to bring this bishop back. As much as that would still be... Well, we lose a pawn if we do. But it's doing such a good job pinning this knight to this queen. I think Ethan's got a bit of an advantage here, but difficult to turn that advantage into actually a winning advantage. He's got a lot of pressure here at the moment. So hope he can play some solid next few moves and keep up the kind of aggression, shall we say. So have a look at Scotland versus England B. Okay, not much going on here. Some sensible moves. We saw that Ruben had played the Benko Gambit against Janil Vidalia, but that's still very much in what looks like theory, actually. So we've got here Jonathan. Okay, I can't see the first name, but interesting kind of perk. This is quite an interesting just position. So Sathya, sorry, against Aditya. Here, so just take it back from the start. So it's quite an interesting perk setup from black. Basically not putting the bishop on g7. The point of this is that when bishop h6 is played, the bishop on g7 is unguarded. And it just gives white extra time to do something. So if you don't put the bishop on g7 and just focus on your own attack that you've got, then this is actually quite good. And now bishop h6 comes, because the bishop's on f8, it's already defended. And actually, oh, he takes it, okay. Yes, technically you could leave it, but he's not castled that side as well, so therefore this is quite interesting. But white just brings the queen back. White's whole setup is to try and play h4, h5 after exchanging off the dark square bishops. That's clearly not happened. And actually White's going into kind of a little bit of defensive mode here, swapping off queens, and probably accepted that the opening that Sathya had planned here has not probably gone to plan. And Adichie is definitely a little bit more happy here, but not winning, and a lot of play left in the game. Okay, let's just flick around. So we've had the Scotland. We've got Scotland versus England B. Interesting French here, but it just looks like a normal position. Dominic versus Ewan. Pretty standards. Okay, Maxim. Okay, and then we've got the international team against Ireland over here as well. So Maxim's pretty solid there. Oliver versus Roman looks pretty sensible. Let's look at the next games. Okay, it's all looking pretty sensible at the moment. So we'll flick to the younger age groups again, and sorry, not the younger age groups, the Gilbert Cup, to see what's going on in the girls section, and we might get a few more. What was the game that we were looking at before? It was this one, wasn't it? It was Sarah Kundun Khan against Nicole White. This was looking like a real crazy game. Bishop g5 just got played, pinned her own knight, it got attacked, and Queen a5 check happened. Bishop d2, Queen c7, able to double some pawns, which I guess is useful when you're a pawn down, but not really what White wants. White wants to attack here. So I'm guessing Sarah is wondering here how to continue the attack. I'm just wondering if she could have played that a little bit better, actually. So knight f6 happened. Did she have to race in with knight e4? I mean, maybe it's one of the best things to do anyway. But then this check came in, and of course knight takes knight would happen if you block it in any other way. So therefore bishop d2 makes sense. Queen goes back to c7. Do you have to take the knight? Well, you don't have to, but hang on, what happens after... what would have happened if knight g5 had got played here? I think that would be winning the pawn on f7, right? And if that pawn goes, then Black's king might just fall because White's got so much activity. You can see ideas that when the knight takes it, the rook's under attack, has to come across. Therefore, there'll be a pin on the g, or something going on the g file. Therefore, the knight on f6 is vulnerable. This was a missed opportunity here. Knight takes f6 looks like a mistake. I can't see a way of defending f7. Am I being blind? Maybe there is. I'm just missing it. It's kind of like an idea here. Maybe you're playing knight h5 just loses knight. Ignore me. Is there any idea? This pawn's just gone, right? Could have been game over. Oh well. Okay, so she's decided to go super aggressive, and after g takes f6, she's gone queen f3. Now she's just allowing pawn takes knight. And I'm assuming her idea is to play queen f6, attacking the rook on h8. This is super aggressive stuff from Sarah Kundun Khan, and Nicole White's going to have to think long and hard not to lose this game over these next few moves. Let's just have a quick look to see what else is going on in the girls section. Okay. This is looking like an interesting game, interesting position at least. Quite a lot of moves played between Michelle Chan and Bethan Mattingly. What's the material like? Okay, hang on. There's White 2 pawns up here already. Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, so let's just have a look. So okay, so we get the standard 2 knights defense. Simple chess. I'm gonna have to bishop here. Okay, knight 65 doesn't quite work. Okay. So simple chess. Okay, yeah, the typical idea of attacking the f2 pawn, and therefore the rook comes this way because you want to play this knight to f1 and around. So d5 comes forwards. Well, Bethan must know this line. Bethan must do very well. She's only used a minute and a half here, and Michelle's not used. Did these kids just know this theory like really well, because I didn't know that this was all theory. Surely they'd slow down if this was a proper game. Then maybe they know it, and it's just really good. But hang on, so here white wins a pawn here. So d5 is played with only a few seconds, and then takes, and you're a pawn down. But after captures, is there a sack on f2 here? Oh, can you not take on f2 here? And this is tactics, right? Oh, she took 30 seconds to play queen d6. Does this not work? Bishop f2, and then king takes bishop, knight g4, check. And it's double check because the rook's on it as well, and then wherever the king goes, you could just take the rook back, unless there's something better, which maybe there is, but don't think so. And here, what's the damage? Black's winning. But the point is, here after bishop takes f2, I think white would probably just go king h1. And with this knight covering this g4 square, that's quite nice. But you could just retreat the bishop or something, and you say that white's king is significantly weakened here. You've won the pawn back that you've just lost. Why would you not do this? Bishop takes f2 here looks like a real nice tactic. But okay, queen d6 happened, d4 got played, chance over and gone. And okay, you start to attack the pawn on d4, and then lose a pawn, and there's only 10 minutes being used, and 2 pawns down now. That seems pretty shocking. Just need to take more time. Opportunities are being missed. Tactics that are capable of being seen. But okay, the game is still 2 pawns is not insurmountable, but it's not great. Any of these other games looking pretty good. Okay, we did see queen f6 by Sarah Kundin Khan, attacking that rook, and Nicole White's got a big problem on her hands. But the other games are looking okay. I just want to have a look at this one actually, between Prisha Gupta and Sahana Chakraborty. The 2 bishops are looking pretty dangerous. So White's a pawn up here, but currently losing a pawn if she doesn't do anything about it, but I think she will do something about it. How did this happen then? So Catalan. Okay, what's this b3 and e3 moves? I usually find that when you play g3, you don't usually play e3 as well. Although that being said, there is some black repertoire that I'm pretty sure I've seen Tom Rendell play, where he plays like a Dutch with f5, knight f6, e6 and g6. And I've always just never even given it any consideration myself. A lot of pawns being moved, and okay, it kind of is okay now. Knight goes into the centre. Okay, so that's basically it. So the knight goes into the centre, gets taken, removes this knight, and so therefore this pawn gets won. Well, that was pretty simple. And white's a pawn up, and I should imagine here that rather than trying to save the pawn with f4, I think maybe e6 is just a simpler way. In fact, does that just win another pawn? Because you can't take it, because bishop takes, and then it's check, and you pick up this knight. So after e6, what does black have to play? Black has to move the knight, it's under attack, and then you just take this check. King has to move, otherwise you lose the exchange. And then I guess white's got a choice. You could either take the knight and move the rook and try and win the opposite colour bishop middle game, or just move the bishop back. And I mean, if you wanted to, I guess you could come back to here for just safety, but maybe just bishop c3 and it's game over. So this game could be game over already. If e6 is played, that could be 2 pawns. Black might have some activity, then chances on the light squares around white's king, but it could be looking pretty difficult though. And okay, well, we might as well have a look at the board 1. So we've got Emily Matten against Emma Kong. How did this game start? So Slav or semi-Slav defense, sensible chess from both sides. Ooh. Bishop d3, so waiting for the bishop to move before taking. Okay, so here the problem for black is that black really wants to play this move c5. Can't play it right now. Played knight bd7 to play c5, I believe, and then knight e4 came, and now c5 is not playable because there's too many white pieces on it. Rook c8, b4. And the same thing that happened, I'm pretty sure Emma had a game like this a few weeks ago, and exactly the same thing has happened, and c5 can't be played, and therefore this bishop on b7 is really bad. So I've got no idea why you'd repeat the same variation and the same mistakes that you made beforehand. So that's pretty bad, but she seemed to do okay here. Okay, activating some pieces, but this pawn on c6 is just really, really weak. So I don't know why you'd fall into the same thing again that you fall into before. Bronwyn Tucson against Anam Sheikh. Looking, okay, this rook on b7 after taking this bishop back just looks very awkward, but it's probably okay. Looks like a sensible position. Yeah, looks like sensible stuff at the moment. Not really much is going on, but we need this one to liven up. White can maybe play this move b5. It would be really useful because it kind of fixes the c pawn and the a pawn back where they are, and then you can try and control the c6 and a6 squares, and like moves like queen here, just attacking a7. The rook's already lined up on the c7 pawn. Yeah, move like b5 here. I'm actually just thinking, it's a really strong idea, b5. In fact, the problem is I think after b5, black has to act immediately to play c6. Well, what's your rating, Altold, by the way? Well, what you at now? Because you don't need to apply, you just get selected. So if your rating's high enough, then you can get in. But black has to play c6 here immediately, and I think after captures, there's no good discovery, I'm afraid, with the rook on the knight, which is a shame because that's exactly the move that white would want to play and get away with. Okay, she's gone knight ce4, which is a very interesting move, kind of encouraging f5. If f5 comes, attack the knight, maybe the knight can come to g5 and cause some chaos, but the knight might actually just be better coming back to c3. So it's a bit of an unusual position. Okay, let's take the overall view, scroll through the board, see what excitement has happened. We did get e6 by Prisha. I think she's going to go on to win that game. We'll just have a quick look at this game, what happened over the last few moves. So the knight did get taken, queen went here. She sacrificed the bishop in order to save the rook. And Nicole White is hanging on here, hanging on for dear life. What does she do after bishop h6 though? Is a question. I guess she would have to play queen e7, and that is not looking nice. Maybe white can just take everything then. In fact, is that game over? Bishop h6, gotta defend it, can't see any other way, and let's just say she takes it all off, and then just reclaims her pawn on e5, and white's an exchange up, rook for a knight, and there's no obvious weaknesses. You can defend e5 with f4. The bishop's still bad, and it's going to take a long time to get out. White's won. So yeah, bishop h6 has been played. That could be game over, and that's what happens if you move your queen around a lot at the start of the game. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, yeah, we'll flip through to the other sections. So we've got the Robinson Cup. Okay, so we haven't looked at Zach Welling versus Yaroslav. So let's have a look at this game. So okay, another Caro card. I think we had a comment in chat. There was a lot of Caros going on, and you're not wrong. So exchange Caro, sensible setup from white. So here the interesting thing is that queen c7 is a move to try and take control over this diagonal. But knight f6 is a different variation, and white puts the bishop on this diagonal immediately. Bishop g4 is, and then they probably know this variation if it's the exchange Caro. Queen b3, so attacking this pawn on b7. Whether they take it or not though is a different story, and Yaroslav offers the exchange of queens here. Queen b6 is interesting. I don't know if I played queen b6, this feels wrong. Is this right, queen b6? Yeah, queen b6 feels weird, but I mean Yaroslav played it. I mean he had 1 hour 29 minutes and 58 seconds, and he actually gained time in playing queen b6, so this is clearly Yaroslav's plan. But if this is not the right move, then who's told him to play this move? Where's he got this move from? Because it's clearly wrong. Okay, but queen b6 got played, and that pawn on b6 looks horrific. Oh, hang on, is that maybe even winning a pawn? You might not want to because you don't need to, but it could technically just win a pawn on b6 immediately. So those b pawns are pretty bad because there's no pawns next to them. If there was a pawn like on c6 instead of the knight, then they wouldn't be too bad. But here, okay, and he plays e5. Wow. This game spiced up really quickly, didn't it? How did I miss this? Maybe it was on a different position. So e5. Oh, because he's got bishop takes a3 coming, which is why white played knight b5, threatening knight c7 check, and he took the bishop and he went check, he took the rook. And the problem is the knight is escaping. Oh, it's not quite escaping. He's got it trapped here and here. So this is interesting, actually. Maybe this knight a3 move was just a little bit of a mistake. But e5, I'm just wondering, could he not take? And then, I guess black's plan was not to move the knight, was to just take this knight off. And I'm just wondering here, what's white's best move here? Probably just taking the bishop. And then we're saying, okay, we're still attacking your knight. What are you going to do about it? And white's a pawn up here. Going to lose the pawn back because of the a3 pawn, but where's the knight go? Knight maybe goes to this square. Attacking the bishop. No, this is definitely not what a Caro player wants. And okay, maybe the c3 pawn is bad, but I mean, let's just say knight e2 actually is a simple developing move. I mean, maybe d4 here is actually quite good, but maybe white can just give that up and just castle g4, and the knight is trapped. Actually is a better option. So that actually, you might miss that. So I don't know where this knight's meant to go, maybe e4. And then, okay, let's just suppose we just chop some stuff off and ignore this pawn on a3. Okay, maybe this is actually okay, but knight a3 I think is a mistake. And here he's paid for it by this e5 kind of move, but this is definitely crazy. And if this knight, he's taken on b6 because the bishop is under attack. So white's still in exchange up here because of this, but trying to win the knight. And with this move b3, it gives some protection to the knight to come back this way. And he takes the opportunity to double some pawns, and then plays bishop a3 with the threat of bishop b2. But I just think it's too much. I think this is game over. Not even at move 20. Just rook b1 looks like a very simple move to play. Yeah, just rook b1. I don't see where the attacks are coming from. Because when this knight comes to e2, it just kind of guards the c3 pawn as well. So yeah, I can't see much counterplay for black here. Rook b1 just looks like it's winning. Looks like we've got a result here though. This game is over. Danilo Shevchenko against Nayankich Rastogi. Did we see this? Okay, so this Sicilian. A little bit of a simple, I mean, bishop d2 doesn't feel like it's the greatest bishop in the world. e2 back here, b5. See how you just look at the space that black's got, and black's got 4 pawns now coming forwards. Okay, 2 pawns, 2 squares forward. White's just got this, and then all the pieces behind the pawns. There's no adventure going forward, and it feels almost like it's just a bit of a you know, white's maybe trying to play for d4, but doesn't really get it in, and black's just got all the space. That's the big problem. And okay, there's this little really nice tactic here actually. Rook e2 is the mistake, because now knight d4 works, the queen is hanging, and the rook is under attack. And the problem is, after queen takes queen, you take the rook with check, and then when it gets taken back, you then recapture the queen. So it's basically quite a simple tactic. Difficult to see if you're, because it's not normal to actually see this tactic, I guess, when you're new. But really the position was already bad. You know, the position was already looking good for black. The pawns were coming forward. Black had more space. You know, you're playing white. You've got the first move. You'd like to think you'd have more space anyway. So even back here, black was still the favourite. And actually, it kind of the tactic kind of works here. You could still play knight d4 here, because after queen takes queen, you can actually double these pawns on the f file. But I'm guessing that black waited because he just thought maybe I can have some more in the position. So yeah, really nice opening by black, and then okay, this just made it a lot easier, and yeah, it should be game over now. You just swap everything off, and I don't know if Danilo's actually... Oh, he has resigned here because he went knight here, and the knight's actually trapped. Well, losing with 123 on your clock is really poor. Needs to take more time over your moves to think harder about what to do. And then here we've got Shreyans Ganti against Christian Enoch. And this looks like a very boring drawn game. It's quite humorous actually that every single one of the black's pawns in front of their king is under attack, but neither is under attack 2 times, and I just find that mildly amusing, if you ask me. It's quite funny. Yeah, okay. Just a note, but okay. Bishop here is attacking the pawn on f2. It is under attack actually because black can get out with a check if you have a skewer of the bishops. Bismuth, how's he going on? Had a long game yesterday, tried to win it, drew in the end against Arnav Kumar, looking like a very sensible position. I assume this knight will come out to a4 next. Yeah, a lot to play. Is this a Queen's Gambit exchange? Yes, it is. Okay. Aditya Mittal against Arush Murthy. Okay, only 11 moves played in this game. How did we get to this position here? So e4, d5 takes, so it's a Scandinavian in a delayed way, and okay, the knight just gets hit. Is that normal to allow this? c4, b6. Okay, at least knows some theory. Okay, good. Well, I didn't know this line, but okay. White gets a lot of space. It's almost like a Grunfeld, isn't it? Not an opening that I'd be recommending people to play as black at all. Just giving white all the space, but Arusha's played very aggressively in his game yesterday, and now c5 happens, and are these knights getting lost? So knight d4, b6 felt like it had to guard something. But this is not looking too pretty. What happens after b4 here? Is this a 12 move loss? Oh, he's going to take the pawn on b6. Okay. So he is okay. Yeah, so if b4 he's going to take on c5, which forces white to take back because it hits the knight. But okay, I'm not liking this. Maybe just taking this and then knight c6. It just feels very precarious to me. Feels like black's pieces are literally about to fall, and this is kind of the reason why I wouldn't recommend this opening for somebody that's young and new to play, because you're just not getting any control of the centre, and it's just so easy to just misplay it slightly, and you've just got no space, you've got nowhere to put your pieces, and then your pieces become clumsy, and you end up losing one. I hope I'm wrong, but this is looking very precarious for Arush, and I feel like one of these knights is about to drop off. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's okay here, but it's looking a little bit dodgy. We did have a look at this game before, didn't we? This game between David Blochkin, who's on 4 out of 4 against Daniel Meredith. Queen a5 happened. We saw it in this position after knight b5, and then knight takes e4 did happen. And I said that David was in big trouble here. He's played bishop d4. I mean, this is just looking so nasty. Oh, this is looking so nasty. White's only a pawn up now, and maybe regretting taking all of those pawns. Let's take the overall view and have a quick look what's going on in the Scotland game. Interesting position actually by Rock Hugh there and Igor Semenov. Everything else is... You saw that. Okay, is that a draw there between Scrivener's Wrath and Edward Chu? Is this game actually over? Looks like they've agreed a draw here in this position. I'm guessing takes here, they're just going to take back this way. And, well, king here would have been the next move. Okay, 2 rooks and a bishop each with equal pawns. Maybe it suits both players. Game I wanted to look at though was actually Rock U against Igor Semenov. We've just had this move played here. I'm just wondering, just go back to the start. So we get this English start from transposes to a Caro. And this c5 move quite interesting. It almost feels like a reverse Queen's Gambit against the Tarash. Very, very common. And black takes this opportunity to stick the knight in. White can't really take because then the knight has to move and this d4 pawn drops off. So it comes in and gets to play f5, and now it's got a bit of a Dutch stone wall kind of feel to it. And some good play by Igor actually to get this position. Rocky plays these moves, but you see this weakness, the base of the pawn chain is weak. There's no pawns that can defend it because the pawn went to c5, so this d4 pawn gets hit. He defends it, but then this f4 move is really, really sneaky actually. This is quality stuff actually. Because black's castled, white hasn't castled. This is the time that you want to make something not crazy, but you want to start just disrupting your opponent. You want to say, like, I'm not just gonna like in this position. I'm not just gonna try and get this bishop out somewhere safe, or get my queen to a decent position and get this other rook involved. That's the simple stuff that you should be doing anyway. But you're castled, your opponent's not. Now's the time to act. F4. Let's have some calculation going on, some craziness going on. There's also the fact that this knight is attacked twice as well and then defended once, so white could, in that exchange, win a pawn, but of course he's got to deal with this as well. And the point is that after bishop takes pawn, which way would black go? But basically black's got 2 pieces on this pawn on d4. And also there's going to be a discovered attack on the bishop when that bishop moves. So it could go really crazy actually, like moves like bishop takes knight to try and prevent this might just get met by pawn takes bishop, and the bishop being under attack, let's suppose it retreats, and the problem is, well, you take here with check, so that would be really, really bad. So I think he's got to do bishop takes pawn. He might be able to get away with knight takes knight actually, but the problem is, I'm guessing, well, he can't do pawn takes bishop because knight takes here is check. And that's a problem if it's a check, because when he takes back, if he's able to do pawn takes pawn e3, he guards everything. So therefore, I think here black would be forced to do pawn takes knight. And that unleashes the queen on the d4 pawn as well. Crazy position, and absolutely crazy position. Now 2 white pieces are under attack by pawns. And that looks like it's just losing because you're just losing a piece. So you can't do that one. So I think he's forced to do bishop takes f4. Hasn't got any choice. He's got to do it, and then whatever happens, happens, right? I don't know if it's actually that bad though. I mean, let's say knight takes pawn, attacks the queen at the same time, forces maybe knight takes knight, and then let's say bishop takes knight. And how bad is this? Okay, so white's got 2 pieces under attack, the bishop and the knight on c3. Maybe he can get away with knight takes knight, but I don't think he can. I think the big problem is just rook takes bishop, and then the knight is under attack, but also we've got bishop takes f2 coming. This could be huge. This f4 move, really, really good spot by Igor. I think it was a good opening by Igor as well to stick the knight into e4 and play f5. Took his opportunity when white released tension around the centre by pushing this pawn to c5, which I'm sure is a main line, by the way. This f4 move, really good, and Rocky's got some thinking to do. Okay, let's have another look round. I'm refusing to believe that game over there is a draw. I'm not going to give it the time of day after only a few moves. Ireland versus the international team. Oh wow, we've got quite a lot of moves. We've got a game over here. Okay, so this game that we looked at by Odin and Flanagan and Liam O'Keefe has already ended. Looks like they played pretty quickly. 2 queens on the board, so it's a bit too much. What's happening in this game here? Mathar against Ronif. Okay, so actually exchange up for Mathar, but the bishop is well anchored with the pawn. So actually what he needs to start doing is coming to attack pawns like on f2 and h3 and around the white king. Could be very difficult to do. Probably a draw is probably the most likely result, but a lot of play left and a lot of time left as well to get to this position. Okay, so that's 2 knights and 2 rooks. Oh, hang on, there's a lot of pawns missing here. So Adam Darker is 2 pawns down here against Badalamudi. And yeah, struggling. These two, I guess these two guys are just going to charge down the board, as long as black doesn't make any complete mishaps. And this pawn being slightly separated, maybe as a target for white, but shouldn't make too much of a difference. Now, by the time white's taken that, this pawn will be here, and it gets to that square very quickly, causes some damage, occupies a piece, and then it will be 0-1. So I should imagine black's going to roll down the board there. What else did we have a look at? Oh yes, we had this checkmate threat early on, didn't we, in this game between Alexis Christoph and Atharv, and he played knight g3, e6 happened, a3, and after a3, Atharv is playing inspired stuff, but maybe a little too inspired. Queen a5, and point being, you can't take my knight because I'll take your rook, but it just feels a little bit too much too soon. You've got no pieces developed, apart from the queen and knight, of course. If white's just slowly gets their bishop out and castles, how is this good for you? And white took this pawn here with the idea being that if you take back with the bishop, I will then take your knight, because if you take my rook, I'll then also take your bishop. You get a bishop and knight for the rook. So yeah, things to think about there. He has actually done bishop takes c5. Does that not just lose? Or is it me? Pawn takes knight here just wins. Seems to be crazy. Okay, let's flick back round. Just see what's going on. Anything more crazy going on? I don't think so. Okay, we'll flick to the Stokes, where we'll have a few more games. I'll change my size again. There we go. Trying to use the scroll bar. Okay, George Zhao versus Adam Sarwar was looking pretty standard. Actually, quite an interesting game, actually. So let's just take it from the beginning. Okay. There we go. Okay, so Adam taking some pawns off in the centre, which is not bad. Yeah, he came up. Okay, so here he got an isolated queen's pawn, and he played bishop e4. I'm not so sure about giving up the bishop for the knight in this situation. The board's quite open here, and even though your bishop on g6 might not be the most amazing piece, the bishops are still usually worth just a little bit more than the knights in this position. So therefore, doing this is probably in white's favour. And now you see he's coming after your second bishop, and this now could be big problems. Okay, the queens are potentially exchanged here as well. He's played knight c6, which is probably the best he could do, actually. Maybe just have to allow this exchange to happen, and have 2 bishops versus 2 knights, and then try and put your knights on one colour square, and then only one bishop can take them, and that'll be it. Okay, we've already seen that game. Otto was against Srivasthan, and white's got an advantage here with the pawns. Good knight versus bad bishop. The knight's not amazing just yet, by the way, but it can move around. Black's got to try and free the bishop with e5. Looks going to be quite difficult. James Chung is against Ramsey Diary, and he's a pawn down. The position looks a little crazy, but black's pieces are coming, consolidated on forward positions, and this white's pawn on a3 is quite weak as well. I think this e5 move, it feels a little desperation here, and black doing a wise thing here of trying to exchange queens. Although, does that actually work? So what happens after queen takes queen here? If you take back with the knight to try and save this pawn on d6, you end up losing the pawn on c5, and then actually you lose b5 as well. So therefore, what happens there? Maybe after takes, maybe you can throw in this intermezzo move, c takes b4. Not quite believing it though. Maybe do rook takes b4, and after knight takes d6. Yeah, well, okay, yeah. So maybe there's some different moves. Actually, you're right. So here there's also some rook c8 ideas as well, and also on the knight and pawn on c2. So maybe black's okay, but just a bit unsure about this queen f5 move by Ramsey. It seems to be a little inaccurate. Your queen's better than black's queen's better than white's queen here. So why exchange them off? Is this e5 move so good? Is the idea that actually this knight's going to come to here and then to here? Um, so that would be potentially problematic. But maybe we just go d5 here and let white take this. Maybe it's caused more problems than I give it credit. You know, maybe this is just a really good move by James, and caused some havoc in the black camp. He's got some pressure here, some pressure here. So therefore these pawns are kind of falling. And this pawn is tied down to defending the knight. So maybe he was forced his opponent to play this move, Queen f5, and Ramsey's kind of hoping that in all variations he's got some tactic that wins the pawn back to stay a pawn up, which would be quite interesting. But yeah, really interesting game in play here. It looks like we've got a result here though. We've got a checkmate on the board. Arthur Kendall's beaten Amir Jamil. Yeah, let's checkmate there. And we still have Constantine, who's slowed down massively from earlier rounds. Well done, Constantine, for doing so. Is playing against Rezin Katabi, who's probably taken it a little bit to the extreme, actually, of taking their time. So I think Rezin can maybe play a little bit faster than what Rezin is doing at the moment, which would be good. Okay, Tavish, Junyi against Tavish. Is this the French? What happened to this French? Why is white so aggressive? The French is one of the best openings, if I am a little bit biased. So taking on d4 is a little too early, first of all. And you don't want to take on d4 too early because you give this knight the c3 square too soon, which is a problem. So a3. Okay, so bishop d3, okay, we know this tactic. Yeah, the problem is that you might think that like you're getting this square, and I had this as well with black, but the problem is if white just holds back, you're not actually getting anything at all. You've got no purchase on the position. Now, I'd even be happier here to see some sort of exchange sack to try and get going, but here white is just pushing black back, and yeah, I'd be very happy with white in this situation. Difficult to get this bishop involved. h6 can come at any moment. The g5 square can be used for the knight or the bishop on this f7 pawn. Advantage to Junyi here. Okay, we'll have a whiz through these. Okay, that's an equal position. Arif versus Ayan. Ardith is a little crazy, but black seems to be a... No, it's equal, but is black winning this pawn on a5? No, okay, so white can defend it, but maybe trying to wrap it up and trying to do some damage, but an equal position otherwise. Okay, so this should be one for Yunyan, who exchange up against Oscar Yip. Krish has got a big pawn centre, but double B pawns, and Haro is trying to provoke these pawns to move, so he knows where they're going to fix. But it seems to be equal at the moment. Okay. Is this equal? Yeah, equal material, but black's pieces are so far forward. The Damjit's got the advantage here. And okay, so this was the other game. This is the game that was looking really quite good, actually, wasn't it? So black just took a couple of moves too long in the opening to get castled. Natish did, and Talab here first of all attacked this pawn on d5 once, and then did play my suggestion of e4. Well done, Talab, keeping the pressure on. Black was forced to do another move that was not getting castled, and therefore queen h5 coming. Now you cannot castle because of mates, and also we have a threat of queen f7. So knight g6 came, and now you can't castle now, but white's got an extra move, so he opens up the e file, wins a pawn, and king f8, and this is game over already. I'm surprised here that he did not play c4 though, to actually just guard d5. You know, just keep the pawn. Maybe there's a reason for it that I haven't seen. But rook d1 is still not a bad move, of course, and it's advantage to Lab. The game might already be won at this point. But yeah, really interesting position. And yeah, and Ethan Cole versus Maxim Christopher. I know that the international team is quite young. So Maxim's a pawn up, but hang on, no, he's a piece down, right? He's got a bishop against pawn. Okay, how did he win this bishop? How did that happen? So equal material. Oh, is that it? So queen e7, e5, takes, and then queen check, bishop here, takes, and he's a piece up. The amount of simple tactics that we've come across here, just from this one round, as to why pieces have been won, it is truly astronomical. And this is just literally a simple pin on a knight. And okay, there's this intermezzo check which doesn't work because it gets blocked by the bishop, but that's pretty poor, I'm afraid. Okay, let's scroll down. Just have a quick overview of the last games as well. We'll have a look at the Stokes competition. That was checkmates by Furion on George. So that was game over. I refuse to... This game's not over, surely, in this position. Has Dylan won against Krish? Surely you don't resign here if you're white. Surely, okay, he's 2 pieces up, which is crazy. But how did this happen? What? Krish? How did it go so wrong for Krish? So, okay, simple stuff. Takes, e5. Okay, too many knight moves and not enough developing moves. So here, the knight took the pawn and it attacked the bishop and also attacked the knight at the same time. So that was basically it, just moving the knight too many times out the opening here. Only used 7 minutes on the clock by Krish, and unfortunately he's a piece down. And then I'm sure, okay, he goes 2 pieces down and had enough at this stage. Alright, fair play, Dylan. Easy win for you. You just got to take the pieces that are on offer. Okay, so that's the... Oh, is this the Stokes? Was that the Stokes that we just looked at? Yeah, it was the Stokes that we just looked at. Okay, so I'm going to take a short break now for 10 minutes, just because my voice is going and I need to drink some water. I'll put on the Glorney though, and we'll leave you with boards. Board 1's actually looking pretty good actually now, just for a few moments. So there we go. And just lock that. And I'll be back in 10 minutes. Hello again. Oh, a little bit late. We're back, but needed some food to eat to keep me going here as we rejoin and have a look at what's going on in the Glorney Cup. So this is a 5-board event. Wales have to beat England in this match, regardless of the scoreline. Even if it's 3-2, there would be level on match points, level on game points, but they would win due to direct encounter. And here we have the board 1 game between Rahul Babu against Owen Cave, who's playing some really good chess. And okay, I think the last time that we saw this game was actually after d5. I said that I thought that black had got a really good opening here. Those 2 pawns on c5 and d5 are pretty strong. Might be wrong, of course. But we have knight g5 being played by Rahul. No immediate threat with that move, but probably just gets it off this pinning diagonal to the rook. The light square bishop for black could come onto. So rook b8. That's a bit of a weird move. Rook b8. I don't like rook b8. I understand what he's trying to do. He wants to go b5 and b4. Just feels a little clumsy. Something just not quite right in my head about it. Maybe it's the best move. Maybe I wouldn't be able to come up with something better. But what I try and do is you try and do these moves without having to play rook b8. I know it would be a pawn sacrifice, but could you get away with it and then start attacking this b2 pawn? Maybe. It's obviously massively risky. Just seeing the idea of knight g5 now, possibly to prevent knight e4 from coming in at some point, and also preventing the bishop going to e6, because black probably doesn't want to lose the bishop pair. But yeah, rook b8 maybe a move to be analysed with a deep computer later on. But okay, simple chess with bishop d3, and now we got some pressure on h7. Not going to be taken just yet. b5 happens, which is pretty predictable. And then g4 happens, and here this is where it starts to get interesting. We have opposite side castling. Makes your decision about what to do a lot easier, because well, here, this pawn can be taken, okay, probably with a bishop, let's say, but then if you take with a bishop, you open up a file against your own king, and you're asking for trouble. Sometimes, though, it's how far does the attacker push it? How many pawns do you sack? At some point, can you take that pawn and hold on to it and not get checkmated? And that's where the calculation comes in for these players and how good they are at doing that. And Ewan just ignores it and continues with b4, trying to get his attack going. And Rahul says, well, I don't want to let you take because it'll open up the file for you against my king, so therefore I'll push past. And now this rook on b8 is stuck behind this b pawn, which can't really go to here because there's 2 pawns there, and that'll be super solid for white. So this advance hasn't really opened up the white position yet. It depends if by forcing this white pawn to c4, this has given black the opportunity to do something. So for example, d4 looks like it's going to be met by bishop f4. Well, has to be, otherwise white loses a piece. Attacks the rook. The rook can go forward, but keeps the position quite blocked on that side of the board. So I'm expecting him, maybe even leaving it. He could capture and then swap queens, but I'm not so sure about that. And the reason why swapping queens here wouldn't be so good is that if white's able to just defend this pawn on g4 with like f3, for example, then actually this pawn on c5 would actually be a target long term. The bishop on e7 is not comfortable on that square. Suppose, for example, you have 2 rooks aiming up the board. The bishop on e7 is a bit uncomfortable, and this pawn on c5 could be won. But he could just ignore it and just leave it as it is, because there's no immediate rush to do anything just yet. Or he has taken, just as we see there. He has captured, so I'd expect white to recapture back and then maybe exchange queens and accepts that the attack is gone. But time advantage for Rahul, but not really significant at this stage. This rook on b8, push this pawn to b4, but I'm just wondering if that was the right move. We got an interesting opening here. Bent's caused some issues immediately with queen b3 on James Merriman, attacking the pawn on b7. And James was having a big think about what to do here, and he eventually played castles and said, yeah, take my pawn on b7 if you dare. I'll get quick developments against it. And Bench chose to play c5. The rook came out check, bishop here, and now he can't really take on Well, no, he probably can actually. Can he take on b7 here? Is the point that maybe he takes this? Oh no, actually, we've always got knight g1 if we need to defend the bishop. Knight g1. Well, a funny move. I was just thinking that like black might be able to somehow force a checkmate or something, or a win of a piece back. But I'm surprised here that you didn't take the pawn on b7 if that's what he was going to do, because the idea is if you put your queen there to take the pawn on b7, you've kind of almost like got to back yourself that you can take it and get away with it. Otherwise, don't put the queen on b3 in the first place. But I guess this was always his plan B. So he always has the option not to take it if he gets cold feet. And actually, definitely not worse here. And now knight c6 is an interesting move. You know, putting the piece on an unguarded square, and now b6 has been played. There's weak light squares around here. Very interesting placement. He's got this knight a5 tempo on the queen, so he's okay. But the queen a4, bishop comes back to d7, and now Bence is having a good think. And they're relatively level on time. Bishop b5 just playing in front of our eyes. And I'm guessing the knights... Oh, so this is quite interesting. Knight can't really move back, because maybe c6 is quite an interesting move for white. So maybe he's... maybe Bence has got something good here. And he's gone knight e7, which is a very interesting move. So we could still play c6 if we wanted to. This could be advantage for Bence here if this works out. And, okay... hasn't got a6 because we take the bishop, and if they take our bishop, well, we take the rook and queen, and white wins. So therefore a6 doesn't work, so after c6 here, this bishop's got to move somewhere, and I don't know where it goes. Now let's just put it on c8 for now, but you can really guard this pawn on c6. So I know that a6 is coming. Not actually kicking the bishop out, by the way, because the queen is pinning it to the rook in this stage, but he's got knight e5. Good development. The knight can come to d2. We can stick a rook on c1. He can really hold on to this pawn on c6 actually for a long, long time. And then by the time that black maybe eventually wraps it up, he'll probably do something on the king side. So maybe after c6, the bishop has to come out this way. With the point being that now a6 is actually threatening the bishop because the queen is guarding the rook. But I'm not convinced by this for black. This. You know, even though you get to stick the queen away, you know, the rook comes to c1, a4 can happen. These pawns are a little bit weak, so even if you don't do that, I think Bence will be tempted by c6 here, and that's what he's going to have a big think about. I'm liking that position actually. And so this is Dylan Duke against Chen Wu. Yeah, it could be overextended, or it could be really strong. Is it a strength or a weakness? Who knows? This position is looking a little crazy though. I actually really like the Welsh player Chen Wu's position here. He has got so the way to look at this position is first of all, I haven't counted up pieces. Okay, it looks like it's equal. Just taken back this way. Is white winning a pawn if he takes? Maybe, but you know, it feels very, very risky for white. The thing is here, you look at the bishops. Black's bishops pointing with the queen as well, pointing down this way at the white king. There's also a pawn on h4 as well, helping, trying to open up, prise it open. I really like that. But for white's bishops, I mean, the bishop on f1 is kind of doing a defensive job, and the bishop on e3 is kind of not really attacking much. So I like the aggression that black's bishops are exerting on this position here. And even if white wins a pawn here, I'm not convinced it's going to be the greatest pawn in the world. So for example, or let's just take with the pawn first. So white's a pawn up, but I mean there's the rook attacking the bishop. There's too many attacks on g3. I'm just wondering here whether black can actually probably just take this. Can he take this again? Maybe not just yet. Maybe not just yet. I'm looking at moves like this and looking at moves like rook takes bishop e3. Something like this could be in the air. Feels very ropey for white here, but still holdable. He's got to play it accurately. If white plays accurately here, then I think he's going to hold, but and maybe even win the game as well. You know, but black's he's definitely given himself a lot of chances here, asking a lot of questions of Dylan Duke here to defend this position, play it accurately, and not give him a chance to do either an exchange sack or something to break down that white king's position, because it's looking pretty weak at the moment. Okay, this was the game between Ellison Smith and Carl Pelling. Yeah, it would be amazing if Wales win. It'd be a fantastic thing. So we saw this position last at b5, and he took with a knight, which was an interesting decision, and then just gave away the pawn on e4. Did he have to do it? Oh, I see. So if he takes with the bishop, knight takes e4 might come in anyway. And so yeah, we missed this actually in our analysis, looking too quickly. But then again, in commentary, you kind of have to look quickly. You don't have a choice. With the point being that after knight takes knight, we've got queen a5 check. And you might think that, oh, well, we can defend the bishop as well as block the check, but no, you can't, because then bishop takes knight happens, and it's even worse. So actually here, this is maybe a little bit of an error then from Ellison in the opening. But he's okay here, actually. You know, okay, yes, it's equal material. He gets c4 in, though. The knight on e4 is very strong, but, you know, maybe even just accepting double pawns on the c-file might also be okay. It's still all to play for in this position. Maybe advantage black, but only slightly. I'd say that. Okay, well, there's a big time difference between the two players here. This game has gone on rapidly. Aaron Rich against Ethan McGrath. Ethan down to 22 minutes here. We last saw this around this area with bishop a3. And here in this position, Ethan chose a very aggressive move here. Rather than moving the rook, he just went f5. I like the style. It's probably not my style, but f5 is very super aggressive, with the idea being that he sacks the exchange, but he really wants to bring this rook forward and across in just a very simple but effective rook lift. I guess he also gets to kick this knight away with c5 as well, which is why b4 got played. And so now, and here in this position after rook f6, Aaron Rich decided to do a nice tactic here and took this knight off, sacked his queen, because when he takes this rook with check, he was able to take the bishop back. And actually, because he was already in exchange up when he gave a rook and bishop for a queen, he's actually now 2 rooks against the queen. Yeah, the position's very unbalanced. Definitely going for the win here, Ethan is. The messages got through to them, to this team, that they have to put this English team under pressure to create mistakes. And queen against 2 rooks in this type of position, anything could happen. If the queen can get him inside and start hassling the white pawns, then the queen's got a great chance to win. Problem is this knight. This knight is going to do a lot of damage and is a really good piece at the moment. So I'm interested to see how this gets developed here. So he attacks some stuff, and here instead of... So queen takes here would be a huge mistake because his queen would be trapped in. But he plays bishop f3, which I assume is a really clever move, in fact, to get a draw or a win. If he takes that, check, king's going to go back and pawn takes pawn. And how do you stop this mate? You can't stop the mate, because if you move your rook away, well, we can go check, and then we can go check. Well, not that one. Checkmate this way. That is a beautiful move, bishop f3, and the reason why it's so beautiful is that after rook h1, we now have this move, queen h4 check. And oh, mind you, with g3, we then go queen h3, and the bishop's attacking the rook. And you can't move the rook because it gets taken on h2, so you're going to lose the exchange. And then the rook and knight against the queen is, well, it's still work to do, but could be advantage. And if the king moves back to f1, well, I assume that there'd be something here. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it's obviously not nice to have the rooks not connected anymore, and the rook on h1. Oh, I thought there'd be more here, but I don't think there is. That's a shame. It looks like it's gone in the right direction for him, though. You know, maybe he just brings the bishop back to g4. Bringing the bishop back. Yeah, I was going to say g4 because of this check and taking here, but maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe just bringing it back here and then going queen e2 next go, but maybe just rook e1 will guard the e2 square. So this is it was a crazy position, by the way, but bishop f3 is definitely asking a big question here of Aaron Rich. He's got plenty of time on the clock to save himself. Rook h1, I think, is the right move to play. A difficult situation, and after queen h4 checking, go king f1. But it's not really what Aaron Rich wanted to play here. and he doesn't want to allow queen takes h2 and queen takes g2 to happen. So yeah, Ethan really putting on the pressure, unsure how it's going to work out for him though. Let's take an overall view, and the reason why we focus on those games is because this is going to determine the winner of the Glorney Cup. If England win or draw, then it's an England win. If Wales beat England, then Wales will win the Glorney Cup. But there are other games going on. We've got here England B versus Scotland, which I guess we haven't given much attention to yet, so let's have a run through of the games. So here we have Jack Lee against Ian Munshi. And okay, the reason why we haven't focused on this game is because it's very equal. But you know, this is actually still where most of the chess actually happens, in the trenches. You don't think much is going on in the game, but there's subtle kind of moves that go on. Here maybe he's got a little bit of an invasion that's just threatened. White's got the bishop pair. Can he take advantage of his dark square bishop? Like if he's able to cement his dark square bishop on this square, it's going to cause a lot of damage. That's why this knight's on d7, trying to stop it. This is a really high level technical game by these two players. I think maybe he probably plays rook c3 here and just tries to stop the invasion on c2 and swaps rooks. Probably a sensible option. But a lot of play left. We had Ruben Evans playing a Benko Gambit against Janelle Vidalia, and it still resembles some sort of theory actually. It's obviously way past theory by now, but this is the typical kind of stuff that you get when you play the Benko Gambit. You get to stick your heavy artillery on the A and B files, coupled with your bishop coming on this diagonal. Your knights hopefully jumping into some good squares. So the only thing I'd say about Black's position is that the knights don't seem to be doing as much damage here as what they possibly could have been. White's been able to control them pretty well, or Black's not used them properly. Yeah, I think that these knights not been involved. I think White's probably got the advantage here with the extra pawn, unless Black can pull out some tactic from somewhere. Because yeah, you've got to get these knights in. I can't quite see a way to get them in. Like maybe just exchanging one might actually be better because it's not doing anything at the moment. But the knight on c7, sometimes it's on b4. It really needs to find a route into the game. So sometimes they play c4 here and then put the knight on c5 actually, and then you see how you got the b3 square and the d3 square to jump into. That would be really nice. But of course, Janelle's just hoping to survive these next few moves. If he survives another 10 moves, then he's going to be a pawn up, and it's still difficult because even in an endgame, this pawn here is so much better than these two pawns. So it's still difficult to win, but a lot of chess left over here. Sathya and the Ditcher, we saw that was the perk with the delayed bishop g7 from before, and this is Ditcher did have the better opening, and you can see here how he's putting pressure on Sathya's position. Just okay, the rook was on b8, it went back to a8 after going from a8 to b8 before. You see how he's got just advanced down on the queen side, creating some problems. If this pawn gets to here, then White has to constantly be worried about the a2 pawn being lost and the pawn promoting. Is he going to take? And White can't really ever take because then this pawn on a2 will be really weak. So this is a good situation for a Ditcher playing the black pieces here for Scotland. Zachary and Austin, have a look here. So this was a French defence, was it? Yes, it was a French. And it looks like Austin's been able to, down to 16 minutes, mind, getting low on time now. For only 15 moves played. But obviously good use of the time, but maybe too good a use of the time. I don't like his dark squares around his king, but seeing as he's got a dark square bishop and his opponent doesn't have, because he's been able to swap it off on this square with a knight, then this is probably not so bad. But I think White's got control. White had a very good opening, but maybe lost their way since then. And they've still got control over the position, but all three results still possible. Time could play a factor here, but Zachary's probably going to try and push through. When the ratings just seem to mean nothing in these games, which is quite interesting. Dominic and Ewan. Okay, opposite side castling. We expect some aggressive attacks. This knight's just come to this square. Look, a few tactics of like taking here. In fact, can you take there? Can you get away with it? Might be able to get away with just taking it. You lose the pawn back, of course, because of this discovery, but might be able to take on e5, which is maybe what Ewan's thinking about at the moment, just trying to calculate those lines. But otherwise, hang on a minute, White's a pawn up already, so would not mind that exchange. So really, I think black has to play something like rook c8 and has to charge down this side of the board, but running out of pawns to do so. So it has to be some sort of sacrifice. So that's why the knight's on d4 to protect b3. Has to be some sort of sacrifice to break through. Maybe like knight c5 and just keep adding pressure onto this pawn. Because otherwise, if white's able to stabilise, get this bishop to d3, bring this rook around, the rook can go to h3 as well as in the centre as well. Rook h3 is a really nice defensive move. You know, just covering the third rank all the way across. That's super kind of idea there to help white defend. You might see that move coming in later on. Also, just the idea of also helping attack too, which is quite nice. But okay, let's move on. We've got Ireland versus the international team, and Maxim here has got this black king. Like that would nearly be checkmate if black couldn't block it, but it is. This bishop on e6 is looking beautiful. I thought this opening didn't go too well for Maxim. Oh no, different game. So this was a simple game, and yeah. And the problem here is that when you play this line as black, your bishop's here, then it's just a little bit more solid for you to play. But with the bishop on e7, it just takes a little too long. And here, taking with the pawn, could he have got away with taking with the pawn here? Because this is the way that you want to recapture. If you can do this, you should do this. But I'm just not sure you can get away with it in this situation. We're not bothered about the g file being open, although with this diagonal maybe we should be. He's probably just losing this pawn, I'm afraid. So that's why when he played maybe he had to play f5 here, because otherwise maybe f5 or e5 was coming against him. It's just with capturing these pawns here after f4, taking this, it kind of gave white a bit more freedom. Maybe he should have just left this pawn on the board, but I guess that's what you get when you play these systems. The b6 and bishop b7 don't seem to go here. Why is this bishop on b6 and b7? Oh, it's because you played it like this. Okay, so here, yeah, d6 is d5 would just probably, it might be awkward. Let's have a look at the book here. Okay, d5 is okay. Knight a6. See how d6 has only been played 14 times here at the top level. Just shows you that it's not really a well thought about move for black. Black needs something in the centre. I'm surprised knight a6 is the move, but d5 is the other one. And that's not really knowing your opening. Black probably, Atharva just plays this just because it's sensible and easy to do. And he plays this setup where he puts the pawns on e5, he plays f5, knight goes to d7 of course. The problem is that it just gives white too much of a grip now. And yeah, I do like white's position here. In this position I think Maxim's doing quite well. Okay, Roman and Oliver, equal material. Okay, yeah, so because a5 has been played, we've got this just little fork here. Oh, this is kind of similar to a Bobby Fischer game. I've seen this idea before where e6 is played to, so knight comes back this way to jump into d5. e6 is played to stop it, and he plays it anyway. With the point being that if you take it, we take back, and your bishop is trapped. And so to speak, the bishop is meant to be better than the knight. Because it can control it, especially at the top level. I know at the lower level, people prefer knights because they miss forks quite a lot. But actually, at the higher level, the bishop's you're able to control where the knight's going with the bishop. So it's meant to be better. But in this situation, I'm not so sure how good it actually is. I mean, let's suppose, for example, we go rook d8 actually. Let's go rook d8. After captures. The knight is on a good square because it's on a dark square, can't be attacked by the bishop, attacking this pawn on b3. White would have to try and get b4 in order to get rid of that b3 weakness. And I'm not so sure how I was able to do that actually, because you can't play b4 now because, well, the a4 pawn drops, which is a bit of a dream for black. So I'm not sure how the bishop is better than knight in this situation. So I think after knight d5 here, Roman's probably having a good think. Do I take it? What do I take it with? How do I progress from this position? I mean, he could actually do this one, right? He could do this one because the knight is actually still well placed on c5 here, and Yeah, I think this knight's going to be quite good against this bishop long term, but we'll see what Roman chooses and come back to it. We've got I don't think we looked at this game at all. Vivash Ransara Samarakun against Ben McIlroy. Equal material. White's trying to create some checkmate threats on the king side. Weakness on d6 I think is probably the biggest point here. No pawns either side of it, so it was a Sicilian to begin with. Pawn on d6 is just being targeted a little bit at the moment. You see black's pieces are kind of around it. Can't play knight e6 because the pawn... Oh no, can play knight e6. Can't play knight c6 because the pawn gets taken. The queen and rook don't really want to do a defensive duty on this pawn. Control of the square in front of it, very important. And it looks like this rook could quite easily just double up on it and do well. What black needs to do is to get counterplay against white's pawns. And so this c file is really where you want your rook. Can't play it though because knight e7 check would be a nasty fork on you. Plus the d6 pawn drops immediately. So I think Ben's in a little bit of discomfort here. I'm not saying that he's not got moves. He can probably go trying some sort of counter attack on this pawn maybe. Probably his best choice. He's got quite a lot of options here, so it might take a while before he makes another move. Okay, Gabriel Landmark against Mathur Pranav. What is going on here? This is crazy. Am I missing something? So knight and bishop against the rook. How did that come about? Let's have a look. Let's go back here from this. So okay, so black just had an amazing opening. Actually, how did this happen at all? So advanced Caro with f4. I've not seen f4 before. Is this a move? It is a move. Not played very much though. Wow. Okay, so yeah, I hate playing b3 here. I hate this b3 move. Weakens the dark squares too much. Maybe it's okay, but it's not something I'd ever play myself or try not to play. Because you're always playing c3, and the problem is now this b3 move here. We saw a rook on c3 actually, didn't we? Yeah, and that's because this b pawn moved forward. And so white's pieces get pushed back. h5 needed to stop g4. And then white here sacrificed the knight to pin the rook to the queen and take it. And the problem is the knight and bishop are worth more than the rook in this situation, especially in this situation because, well, all white's pawns are dropping, and I think Mathur's got a win here on his hands. He just needs to nurse this through, and he'll be fine in winning this. That should be a win for the international team. And the last board that we haven't looked at is Vanik Singh against Rahul Arun. And this is looking pretty level, apart from the fact there's a pawn on d6 which is going to win any endgame for white, and the bishop is a monster. The rook and queen are looking down, level material, but I'd say white's in the ascendancies here and black is just trying to hold things together. Probably has to play b4 so we don't open up too many lines against the queen side. This bishop being huge. I mean, it might be a case that black plays rook a8 anyway and just says, please take me, I want to get rid of that bishop. But can't be happy about this pawn being on d6 at the moment. Okay, let's take an overall view and then have a look at the Gilbert as well, because we haven't been there for quite a while. So the overall viewpoint is pretty positive from a Welsh perspective at the moment. I'm going to have to just very quickly look at these games because we saw them from different perspectives. The queens did come off, and then Ewan nicked the pawn on g4 immediately. Bishop f4 got played, and okay, we start to see that white's harassing this bishop on e7, and there might be some sort of bishop d6 and bishop f7 kind of idea coming in here, which is why Ewan's down to 12 minutes. But he is a pawn up. If he's able to calculate his way out of trouble here, then Ewan could be trying for the win, or it could, all three results are still possible. White's pieces are very active. Bence against James Merriman. This is a great little opening here. So c6 did get played. Well played, Bence. Bishop f5, knight e5. And then here he played knight g6. I thought maybe a6 was critical there. He took the knight off and played bishop a6. And this pawn is here until the end of time. And maybe he's just thinking, I'll put my bishop here and take this pawn, get back out and survive. And I'm a pawn up. Maybe develop the knight first, Bence. And get the rooks involved, because there's going to be some sack on e3 coming, because the bishop will come here, the queen will get out, so there's going to be some sack coming your way, so make sure you're developed. But I'm very happy with Ben's position there. And here, as we suggested, after d5 takes, knight took, knight takes, pawn takes, and then he's taken on g3 here. And white's a pawn up, but his position looks very shaky at the moment. This could go either way. This pawn is, I mean, white's pieces are there, they're all together, but black's pieces are definitely looking at this white king, which is looking extremely aerated at the moment. So very, very close. And it looks like here that Ellison has put his knight on c3 and doubled his own pawns, but got rid of that key knight on e4, and now all three results are still possible. Ellison down to 11 minutes though. We've got not liking that time management, maybe a little too long. It got surprised in the opening with that b5 move, and it's made him think a bit too much. So this match is all poised, but one of the key matches here is this one. We saw bishop f3 getting played. Rook went to g1. So was there a reason why it couldn't go to h1? Because after rook g1, he went king f7. So when he took the bishop, it wasn't check. He still didn't take the bishop. He took a pawn, and the queen went h4 check, and then he took on h2. Oh wow! So now if takes, and he can't go rook e1 to stop queen e2 checkmate because of f2. Whew, nice. But I do have to ask the question here: what was wrong with rook h1 here? I mean, maybe rook g1's a better move. Maybe this is what happens better, because I mean, why not take this? Because he can't take the bishop because it's not check, right? King f1 maybe, and then maybe just retreat the bishop. I don't know why not this move. But he didn't do it. He moved his king, check, took the pawn now. Knight came back, and now Ethan's having a big think, because if he doesn't think this a pawn is going to win for Aaron, and he's got to break through. He has to break through. He might have a forced draw here, actually, Ethan. No, he's not. No, so he can't do this and then check this way. Because when he checks on f3, the king just goes to e1. And he's got no more checks. Although, how quick is this pawn compared to this pawn? We go h5 here. That pawn's pretty quick. This might be a problem. The knight comes back to help out. Oh, the knight coming back to help out. This is, the queen has to block the pawn going forwards. Yeah, this could be very... He's just not quite breaking through, and if he's not breaking through, this will win. So yeah, Ethan is he's still in there, and it's still a bit of a crazy position. Maybe something like h5, h4, h3 now. Maybe this has to happen now in order for the game to continue. But maybe this knight just comes back to d4 and takes the bishop off, and then there's not many more checks after that. So that could happen as well. If this knight comes back to defend, then it's just such an easy defense move, and this pawn will win for Aaron Rich. So this could be a key match. Ewan is still fighting here. Actually, we've got some more moves here which have happened pretty quickly. Rook e1, h3. The knight got sacked on f7. Rook takes, bishop e7, and then he went bishop h5 to defend the rook. So this is he's going to be an exchange now, but he's got a pawn for it. By the looks of things. Oh no, he's not going to have anything for it. He's just going to be an exchange down. Oh no! So it's actually this activity. So it all started back here with c4. He decided to take the g4 pawn, but the problem is that after the rook got attacked, the bishop got attacked, and that bishop on e7 was just so vulnerable. There was no decent way to defend it because of the f7 pawn threat as well. You had to go for this, and I think Ewan knows that this is not good for him. I think just simply, probably just rook takes a7 is the best move, but just simply taking here and then taking on a7 is also going to win for white as well. The exchange up in this situation going to be very difficult for Ewan to defend, so that's not looking good. So we need the other boards to come through. Let's look at the Gilbert Cup though, and we'll come back to that in half an hour or so's time. Scroll through. So it looks like Emily Matten is pushing forward against Emma Kong. The rook on a7 looks absolutely horrific, like this. This is going to be a win for white. Anam Sheikh has beaten Bronwen Tucson How did this happen? So the rook on b7 was looking bad. I was looking at this move b5 like ages ago. What happened there? Where were we? It was somewhere. Oh yeah, so this knight went to e4, didn't it? That's it. The knight went to e4, knight e5. Okay, so you wanted to double up the rooks, but the knight got attacked, which we knew it would. And then e4 came, and that's the problem. So knight e4, g5, and back to f3 was kind of forced. And then e4 came, and black is just breaking through the bishop, showing its dominance over the knight here. And unfortunately here, e3 is just a massive breakthrough. As much as queen h3, and there was just no decent way of stopping this checkmate. Okay, Bethan did lose to Michelle Chan. I think we saw this one as well, somewhere back here. Yeah, so here missing bishop takes f2 is criminal, but we saw that white was 2 pawns up, and okay, there's just a lot of attacks, and there's a bishop gone, and then just took the rook. Okay, game over. Okay, so we do have Scotland playing against the other England team as well. This is looking quite good for May if she can get c5 or d5 in, one of these two moves, probably c5 I should imagine. Really pushing back the black pieces, but doesn't want to play this too quickly though and give the d5 square away. But yeah, equal position actually. I'll take it back. I think Chris is doing okay here, because even though white's got the space, I guess that's probably what you expect in this type of opening. All to play for. Had a really long game yesterday, both of these two did, actually, in round 4. Florence against Sophie Meta. Hang on a minute, there's a knight, so black's an exchange down. But got an active knight, and the queen's about to take this pawn. So has a few chances. If that pawn drops, then if that pawn on f4 drops, probably unlikely, then e5 would drop. I think because this bishop can't get out, because this f4 pawn is going to be quite solid, I think just something simple like moving the rook, queen takes, because you can't win f4 simply, then you can't get the bishop involved, and therefore it should be advantage white here. But it's not easy. There's still a lot to play there. We've got Julio against Angelad Hunt, and okay, very equal position. Isolated queen's pawn, but and the bishop pair for white, but it's not the be-all and end-all because black's pieces are looking pretty active. Fair play, Angelad. Looking pretty active there, and okay, I guess if you take this way, you're going to take back with the queen just so your pawn is guarded. Yeah, it makes sense. Playing in the right way, using the outpost that the queen's pawn gives you, and seeing what kind of tactics you can drum up. Got to be just a little careful of this g7 pawn. Some sacks there potentially, or some checkmate threats coming your way. We saw this game, didn't we? We saw this way back when, somewhere around this area here. Oh, knight d7. How did I miss that move? That was embarrassing. But queen takes h7, and wins the rook anyway. So black's a piece up, but white's black should not have survived from here. Nicole, you are very, very lucky to have survived from this position. And Sarah's been pushed back here, and oh wow, this game gone crazy. This should not have worked. And the problem is, I hope Nicole doesn't go away from this thinking that getting the queen out and taking the pawn early on is the right thing to do, because this should have been lost, but she's looking likely she's in the driving seat now. Was she an exchange down, but she's got how many pawns for it? 3 pawns for it. So black's definitely got the advantage, but the missed opportunity was all the way back here after queen c7. I didn't see how, after knight g5, how black was going to defend the pawn on f7. And if that one goes, then the house might fall. But it was a missed opportunity, and instead went for this, and won an exchange for white, but it was just not enough. And if black gets out, which black is doing when the castle queen side, they were going to be okay. Okay, well, it looks like checkmate's very soon going to come up on this board. So who's that for, by the way? So that's Prish Gupta is going to beat Sahana Chakraborty. And then we've got the 2 players that are nameless. Looks like they're playing a nice, actually, really good game, actually. Okay, there's an extra knight for white, but they're still taking their time over their moves. And, if you've not got your names down, that means that your 2 spare players just stepping in. You're doing quite a good job there, actually. Providing us with this. Actually, it was a French defence. Fair play. Advanced French. Queen b6, a3, a5. I like it. I like this a5 move. I'm not too clean on the knight e7 move, though. Maybe just continue with a4. Bishop d7 and a4. And try and get that knight into b3. Okay, now, yeah, white just has a massive dominance here. With now black's counterplay on the queen side is completely snuffed out. And there's not much you can do. And the black king is now really exposed, and that goes to piece, and that's how the piece was won. So white should win this game, but okay, anything can happen. There's some pieces on pre here and a rook on pre here, so it's not the end of it. Something could still happen. Let's have a roundup of some results though, because there's quite a lot of things going on in the Robinson Cup. So okay, so we had here, we saw that Danilo had already lost. Looks like Christian's lost this game as well. Actually, this was looking like a really equal game, wasn't it? I think I said here that all three pawns are under attack in this position, but none of them are under attack twice, which is pretty amusing. And I thought this was quite a level position here, but okay, maybe this was just worse. So hang on, so b5 got played, rook h5. Oh no, g6. Oh, I'm missing this tactic of rook takes h7. No, this is why you practice checkmate patterns. Exactly, and the point being that you can't take the rook because of rook here check. And when the king goes back to g8, rook h8 mates. That's why you've got to practice those patterns. And here, of course, as well, rook here is still checkmate. So therefore the king had to move, and after rook here, it was just game over. So yeah, with all of that, just a small misstep. So b5, rook here, and the bishops were unguarded on the same rank, and this is what caused the mistake of g6 to happen. I'm just wondering, could he have done something different? Like, let's suppose he just takes the bishop. If he just takes the bishop, how bad actually is that? Rook takes bishop back. Bishop on c5 is under attack. So I guess we have to do something about that. So let's just suppose we put the bishop back to f8, and okay, you go a pawn down, but this position is definitely playable, and you can play on from this position. Wow, a position that I was thinking was going to be a little bit boring, and actually two unguarded pieces compared to white's bishops, which are guarded, and that's all it takes. That's all it takes. Unguarded pieces, naturally where you put your pieces. b5 looks like a decent move. And then rook h5 comes and you're like, what? How did this happen? And then bang, you get hit by a tactic because the diagonal is open to the king. Really nice tactic, unlucky Christian. Okay, just happened to click down to Vismus game. And it looks like he's 2 pieces for a rook down. Oh, he's got 2 pieces for a rook and pawn, so it's not the end of the world. Okay, interesting position though. I guess the rooks get exchanged here. So he's going to fight against Arnav Kumar. Yaroslav against Zach Welling. Zach was a pawn up, wasn't he? Oh no, exchange up, and looks like he's going to win too. And Arish Aditya Mittal versus Arish Murthy. And this game was a little crazy, wasn't it? Actually, we saw this game around here after b6, and I said that the knights were definitely very, very loose. b4 did get played, and he took that this way, and then he went knight e5. Bishop here. Okay, bishop here feels like a weird move, but maybe it's got some point to it. And I guess the point is that he wants to play. Yeah, bringing this rook off the diagonal was a good call, and taking here was a very strange move. But maybe it was just desperation because he didn't know what else to do because he's so far pushed back. This knight in a5 is crucially holding this square from the knight jumping in, but it's weak on by itself. And now d6 gets played. Oh, and there's like a little tactic here, queen d5 check taking the rook if he takes the knight, but maybe even more than that. So he takes it, loses the knight, brings the bishop back, and Aditya Mittal is as long as the activity that he gets is good, then is stamped out. Like bishop b7 is a move you'd love to play to get the bishop on this diagonal, move the pawn out of the way, but you just don't want to swap queens. And actually these pawn exchanges here are looking good for white too, so I can't see much counterplay for Arusha, I'm afraid. And I said that David Bolochkin was in trouble against Daniel Meredith, and it looks like he's got 2 rooks for the queen somehow. But knight b5 was the last move after bishop d4 was the last move. Black took here. Knight c7 happened. And what on earth happened here? Surely there's a better move than queen c6. Queen a3 is what I wanted to play, but and why did we have to move the queen here? Could we not have played like queen a3? Why can't we play? The rook on e8 is going to get taken. That's the point. Okay. So why can't you take the rook now? The queen's on 3. Okay. Feels like there should be like a mate with 2 knights and a bishop, doesn't there? But okay, so this happens. We've got another check. Oh no, this looks. He took a bishop off. Oh wow. Rook e2 wins the queen. Loses this one, takes this one, b6, and this is not. Okay, so there's this game over then because David Bolochkin's knight is about to get taken. He can't go rook c1 to threaten checkmates. It's not even checkmate, but right, because of bishop f8 maybe, but also the bishop can just take the rook on c1. So this is looking, yeah, maybe something like rook e1, but the bishop can go back to f8 and you can't actually attack it again, and the knight on d7 actually also defends it. So it's not even this knight that's the point. There could also be some other attacks here that are pretty dangerous. I think maybe Daniel's I'm pretty sure if we analyse that with a computer, I'm pretty sure we see. In fact, let's put the computer on here because this is probably horrific, right? So knight c6 is the best move. Could bring in another piece into the game. Knight c3 check is the best move. Knight back to e4 check just to stop them castling and repeating the position. It goes queen c6, still wins. Knight e4 check here is apparently the best move. Why would that be the best move? Oh yeah. Oh no, maybe not. Maybe knight e4. Maybe I'm just thinking at some point can black just take this knight and just be a piece up at some point. But now it's starting to go back to like being a little bit level. Okay, so instead of going king b3, he goes king b2 and allows this because he planned the queen sack to take here. And okay, yeah, queen a4 was the move here. Why is queen a4 so good here? Oh, just to give the knight the c6 square? That's beautiful, isn't it? Just bringing an extra piece into the game. The knight on b8. It's still about development. It's this game amazes me that you get told right from the start, get your pieces out, and yet this knight seat coming to c6 came at the start of this variation at the end, and it's still saying that this is the most important thing to do. And actually, okay, here this is still winning for. Okay, we didn't get that. We're in this position with David thinking he's put up a good fight. This is the problem. He's put up a good fight, but his opening was just really poorly done. And the point being that he got to this situation here, where he's basically got everything's normal if this bishop just wasn't here. And the problem is because he played a London system to start off with, and then transposed this way with c4. But then for some reason went e4, when e3 is the main move in kind of a normal situation. You can't play a normal Queen's Gambit when your bishop's on f4. And then, okay, probably doesn't know the King's Indian too well if he plays a London and got sucked in this way. But okay, that's the Robinson. Let's have a look at some of the other games as well. Interesting endgame between Raghuram Parasar and Yuan Ding. Bishop v Knights, equal pawns. Hopefully we'll see more of that one. Was Connor Beatty... I'm not even going to click on it if they've had a quick draw. Looks like a draw between Yeshwarden and Sifan de Silva. Okay, yeah, we saw that Fanuli beats Gunnar Atney, beats Kyle Lopez Henderson quite comfortably. A draw of Srinivas and Edward Chu as well, we saw. And then over here, wow, all these games are all finished apart from one. And it was the one that had the checkmate threat that we looked at right at the start. Oh, wow. So hang on, who's won this match then? So the international team. Oh, was that a nice little fork? Oh, that's a lovely little tactic just to finish up. So back here we are, king in the centre. Probably some sort of sack to get it there. In fact, how did that king get in the centre? So white had a massive pawn. Pawns in the centre, got rid of them, played knight e7 check. Why did the king not go to h8 then? Why did it come to f7? Why did it not go to h8? Why is that? Why did this king not go here? Just taking this pawn, is it? Ah, it's these checks, is it? Okay, yeah, but that's difficult to see. King f7. If you saw all that, Jamie, fair play, but this is also horrible, and it's just a lovely tactic from this position. Taking the knight, taking with the queen, and then knight f7 check, and the rook is distracted. Queen takes queen happens next. If you take the knight, of course. Really nice finish. Well done, Nicholas. So Nicholas won, but then Mathur won that one that we saw. Ganguly won against Hugo Sweetman. Vadlamadi won, and Odin won. So they're 5-0 up against the Irish team. Just this one game left to play, with Atharv trying to get a point on the board here, or half a point on the board. Yeah. Yeah, but he's knight and bishop against the rook, I'm afraid, and the knight and bishop should be better than the rook, but in an endgame, he's still got chances here, so he might be able to survive, but his team's 5-0 down, playing on for pride, and that's why they're down there. But okay, the Welsh team is struggling, and Scotland versus England B. England B are 1-up with a few draws left, and they're waiting for Rock U. Looks like Ewan Ding versus Raghuram might be a draw, but bishop versus knight could be anything. It's an interesting endgame this is. We'll see how this one develops if they play it on instead of agreeing a draw. With England being 1-up, they might do. And Rock U here was against Igor. Oh yeah, this is the other game. We saw f4 being played, right? And I thought bishop takes knight couldn't be played because the pawn takes bishop. I thought this couldn't be played. I thought this couldn't be played because of this, but maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe after pawn takes bishop, knight takes knight, which we missed. So knight takes knight, queen takes here, and then check. Bishop d7, e5. Right kind of idea with that king on f2. Check. Oh, he takes, and his idea was check this way, and he didn't, because he wins the rook if he moves the king, and then queen comes down to h3. That's very, very brave. If taking here, we take on h2 check, and the white king is in the centre. This is a really nicely played game. So queen h3, king e3, rook a d8, threatening d4 now. So if he takes the bishop, the knight is pinned. So therefore d4 check would win the queen. So the queen blocks, and now Igor is trying to keep his attack going. But fair play. This is a really well played game. Good defense from Rock U. It's a good calculation as well, and Igor sensing his moment and trying to make this attack stick and work. And yeah, whoever wins this game, whether it's a draw, well played to both of you. Really interesting position and game. Okay, let's have a look at the Stokes. So most of these games will start to be finished now, but good to see a Welsh player still going. So Wales have lost to England already. In fact, they're 5-0 down, with wins for Rezin, Arthur, Ramsey, Srivasan and Aditya. 5-0 against Wales. So England are the champions of the Stokes. Nothing can be done there. They've only got one game left to play, which is George Zhao against Adam Sarwar. And Adam's actually not been doing too badly here. He's a pawn down, and the bishop versus knight kind of down as well. So he's struggling here, but yeah, George Zhao's just got control over this. But Adam's given a really good account of himself as well, and taking his time like this is really good too. Only 22 moves played, by the way. Starting to get into time trouble. Yeah, this is in the Welsh team's not as strong in this section. I know they've had some children pull out, but also at the same time we do need to be better, and it's just a bit of a surprise that we haven't got stronger players to play in this event at that age group. I thought that since the pandemic, with all the training that's going on down there for the under 12s, I would have thought that they'd be stronger, but clearly not. You're just not playing enough chess, perhaps, is one thing. Okay, so that's that match done. So England are the champions. Nothing can be done there. We've got Scotland versus the other England team. Like some interesting games here still going on. England are 1-0 up in that match. Okay, this is interesting. So Haruo Yugaki is pulling up against Krish Kasharu, trying to win. Takushi Yip and Adamji has got queens on the board and things. So that's interesting. And then we also have the Irish team against the international team. Got quite a few results here. Okay, yeah. So this is the game that I was talking about before. We saw it somewhere around this point where Rook D1 was played. Black had just slightly misplayed the open, ever so slightly, and because of that, I had to play King F8, and now everything Bishop E6. You start to have fun now when you're playing white. You start to see lots of fun ideas. Bishop E6 being one of those fun ideas, and the problem is everything seems to go. And even though you get the F2 pawn, the problem is white's pieces are just so far, and it's so far in, and it's just game over. So yeah, that just shows you there. This opening here from Black didn't look that bad. There's just a couple of things like B6 here, when your opponents play Bishop G2, just strikes me as really strange move. And it's just that extra tempo. And now 94 moves a piece twice. When you're playing Black, to commit one sin is enough to commit two. You're just asking for trouble. And now it comes the attack on the D5 pawn, the attack on D5 again. Now you can't castle. It's game over. That's how quick things can go wrong for you. Ethan Cole did actually transpose this to a win against Maxim Christopher. Actually, how did he do that, actually? Oh yeah, it was just a simple pin on the knight, wasn't it? It was a piece up, which was a shame that we didn't see a better game. And so this match is actually in the international team's favour. They are 3-1 up because Ethan Cole has won for the Ireland, but the other 3 wins have gone for the international team. So they're 3-1 up at the moment with 2 to play. And it's looking very drawish. Oh no, actually, what is going on in this endgame? Who is winning this? So, I think only Black can win, because this G-pawn here is going to keep this white king here. So it's going to be a case of, can Black get their king to H5 when white's king is on G3? And the answer to that question is no. Because white can actually keep their king here and here until the black king hits H5, and then they bring it to G3. Okay, so in the chat you're saying location issues too, as it's the other end of the country. Yes, Hull is on the other side of England, but you could also argue then why are Scotland and Ireland playing? And you've got people from England that are also from London, which is just as far away. So I do not agree that location issues is a problem as to why Wales can't get their best team out to play in this tournament. It should have been sorted a long time ago. You know, we travelled to Ireland to play in this. We travelled to Prague to play in this tournament before. I also travelled to Arnhem to play in this. So that's the reason why. Just have a look, just in case people have messaged me about these games. So okay, so King G2, so Black can't win this by going down this side, because now King G3 happens, and you haven't got a waiting move as Black, so you have to move back. So I think this one's going to be a draw, unless he can somehow get his king around. But whenever he plays King D5, White plays H5. and you can't go back to e6 to catch the pawn. d6, h6, e7, h7. So yeah, so the black king can go as far as d6, but it can't go any further. So this is going to be a draw, which would mean that they've agreed a draw by the looks of things actually. A draw on the board. So that means the international team has won this match. They've got 3.5 to 1.5 with 1 game to play in the Stokes. So that's still going on, but it looks like it's all over. So back up to the Glorney, and let's see what big news has gone on here. Hoping for a Wales victory against England. This is the only way that England cannot win. Okay, we've got a result going on, and Ethan McGrath has unfortunately lost. And as I expected, kind of saw this coming. This knight coming back to d4. He went for this perpetual check, but it just doesn't work. Knight coming back to d4 just stops the attack, and it's just game over. He just can't do anything. The a pawn just wins, and the 2 rooks are just won. So yeah, nice try, Ethan. I'd like to see a full analysis with the computer. Looks like Ewan Cave is struggling here against Rahul Babu. He's a pawn down and the rook for. Oh no, sorry, there's a rook for a bishop down. White's got a passed pawn. And his rook is stuck defending his bishop, which is defending his g7 pawn. This is not looking good. I think Ewan is going to go down here in this game. And it all came back to that really nice kind of combination. All the way from back here, this is looking a little... rook b8 and b5, b4 didn't feel right to me, but he took this pawn to win this pawn on g4. But then just this activity from White, and this bishop was just so clumsy on e7. No way to defend it, and it was the f7 pawn that was the problem. And that's how the exchange was won, and this is just game over. And it was quite easy, I should imagine, for White to win this. So a4 is just on the board at the moment. He's hoping for the spectacular. You never know. Keep playing on. Now, Bence was doing alright in this game, or was doing alright. I feel like too many pieces have been exchanged here. For the true value of this c6 pawn to be realised. So we're back in this situation. Okay, maybe exchanging that was okay, but he's played this because I'm guessing he's worried about this kind of stuff now. Yeah, a few too many pieces getting exchanged. Could we have avoided that somehow? Like knight c3, do we have to take that? Can we just go rook c1? Why can't we just go rook c1 here? Is knight g3 that scary? Just go rook here. So that's no good. Why not just go rook c1 and bring your rook into the game? If your rook's on c3, guards c6 and also has ideas that are coming across this way. So when you take the piece, you bring your opponent's pieces forward. And here, by taking on e4, by moving the bishop to f4 and taking on d6, all that's happened is White's pieces have not moved. These have not moved over the past 4 moves. All the White pieces that have moved are the ones that got exchanged. And what's happened is this bishop's come to here and this queen's come to here. So Black's improved their position. And so I think any advantage this c6 pawn would have given Bence is now evaporated. And James Merriman is definitely happier compared to where he was maybe 20 minutes ago. This position, this game was looking crazy. And it looks like what's happened here is Chen has won the pawn back, so he's not a pawn down anymore. White's king is still exposed, so he's still got a small advantage. Difficult to win. You're going to need a lot of pieces have been exchanged here, but I definitely prefer Black here because of the safety of his king. And he's going to have to try and win it. And I hope that somebody else can get a win from somewhere else. But it's not looking good for us, I must admit. I do apologise all you Welsh fans that are watching. I think on the ECF streaming channel, I think that this is one of the isolated games where actually we're ahead, because Ellison is down to 3 minutes left on his clock here. He has stabilised the position for sure, compared to where it was, and he's got chances, but he's playing on not very much time compared to Carl Pelling's 23 minutes. This is not looking good, so we're probably going to lose boards 1 and 5, and then the middle 3, anything can happen, but we're probably only winning one of those, and in this game we're down on time, so unfortunately it's not looking like Wales are going to win the Glorney Cup this year, if ever, at this stage. Okay, so this was a Benko Gambit. Not much has changed since we last saw it. White's been able to play this b4 move. Ruben won't be happy with allowing... Oh, hang on. Is there a piece missing, or is it me? We missed a piece. How did white win a piece? So rook a7. Seriously, knight c4 happens, and then knight takes knight. Is that maybe he thought he could distract the queen this way and then take the knight back, and then just completely missed it and just blundered the piece. So after knight c4, Ruben unlucky. So just some silly tactical, but I guess it's the pressure white was holding. You didn't want to play knight d7. Is probably the point. Did not want to play this move, and therefore looked for every opportunity to try and go forward, and just went forward in the wrong way. And and this just loses a piece. So yeah, white's just going to win this one. This game here looks like it's black in the ascendancy, a pawn up. Better piece coordination as well. So this rook stuck on a1. But maybe this pawn on b4 is a bit vulnerable, and then again you're going to get the h4 pawn. So Adichie is trying to push Sathya here. Zachary and Austin are equal, but there's some weak dark squares around the black king, which Zachary's going for. This was from that French, wasn't it, actually? And while this dark square bishop's on the board, should be able to cover those dark squares. A lot of play left here. White's king is quite exposed, which is interesting. Let's just have a little check. Ewan and Dominic. So this is the one with the black needing to attack on the queen side. So white's got an extra pawn here on the queen side. We can create two passed pawns. I think black's done okay here. I think Ewan's done alright here to get to this situation, because more pieces being exchanged. This bishop's not really very good. The light square bishop would be good on this square, but it's easy to block it out. And then I think he's done okay here. Ewan's got definitely good chances here of trying to hold this. Maybe even trying to cause some carnage around the white king and give himself some chances. This is the game where white's a piece up. So it was a rook up, or an exchange up now. But a lot of things going wrong. Hang on, what was this? That piece? I thought there was e5, wasn't it? Oh no, this is a different game. Sorry, this is a different game. This is the rook f5 one. The bishop came to e6. That's it. Okay, so bishop c3 check, and then f5. Ouch. And so he didn't take the bishop back. He went f6. Had to take with a rook to save his piece. So white won an exchange nicely there. Actually, good tactic by Maxim. And he's looking to just swap off pieces, which he can do. Just swap the queens off on g7 with the knight. I guess he's weighing up whether to do that or not, and then just bring this knight back to g3, attack the light square bishop, and just try and win the game that way. It's probably the simplest thing to do, to be honest. Just chop, chop, and then just, let's say, knight here, and then just simply this pin on this bishop to this rook is sometimes quite annoying. If he doesn't want to swap this off, he's got to move it. Bishop d3 might just keep his hopes alive, but just rook here maybe, and you just want to attack this rook, attack this bishop, double up and swap off the rooks, and should be a win for white. But that's only if he does that. He's looking for better, and I don't mind him looking for better there. Oliver and Roman are playing out this interesting endgame. What happened? What I said could happen. Knight d5 came in, but actually the black knight isn't so bad here, is it? And actually, in fact, the black knight is very good here, and actually could be winning this endgame. Ben and Vivash are... Oh yes, this was... we just saw it up to b3, didn't we? And white had a bit of pressure here. Wins a pawn and an exchange, and therefore should go on to win the game. Just got to keep control and make sure black doesn't get any compensation. Mather has beaten Gabriel. That two pieces beat the rook, especially in this type of position. The king's just got no defence. And Rahul and Vanik are the last game that we look at. And here, yes, that bishop is just so powerful on this diagonal when the action's happening over here, combined with this pawn on d6. White's pushing, but might be difficult here for white to keep control over the position. It feels like, while this is good, the white king doesn't have many squares. You probably want to see h4 and king h2 be played. or shrieking h2, just to give the king a bit more space. But maybe black's just got some hope that one of these pawns can become passed and just give himself a chance to stay in the game. Okay, yeah, Ewan's just trying to survive here, but it's not looking good. He's going to go down, I'm afraid. And it looks like Wales' chance of the Glorney Cup is ebbing away and needs a bit of a miracle. So, yeah, Wales have also lost to England in the Gilbert Cup, 3-0. Scotland are currently 1-0 up against the other England team, with Florence Wilson beating Sophie Meta. It's a good win for Florence. Julie O and May Cataby are trying to survive still. And looks like Sarah Kundan Khan is going to lose to Nicole White. And when she looks back at this video and maybe looks back at that game, that knight g5 move early on would have been a really good result for her. Let's double check that I'm not just lying here. This is not just me. I just bring this queen out so much here was terrible, right? So here, knight g5, and there's just no way to defend this guy. Yeah, that's the one that she missed, and but you did the right thing, Sarah. So you definitely did the right thing, and Nicole, you did the wrong thing. So don't bring your queen out and take all these pawns, let your opponent have all this activity. Look at that line and and get your openings sorted, please. Okay, so the international team have lost to Ireland, 2-0 there. I don't know what happens with the spare game. Scotland and England, though, are still going at it. So here we have May Cataby against Krisa Matraka. Again, really long games, and this game is looking, again, really equal. This pawn on d4 is kind of weak, but the double left pawns are kind of okay. So black has taken advantage, and a really good square on d5 for the bishop. Just a very equal game, to be honest, and kind of a position I'd probably agree a draw in, because I wouldn't want to play it for either side. Because you're just worried about the d4 pawn as white, whereas as black you've not got as much space, you're worried about that. Julio versus Angrad Hunt. Okay, Angrad had this. So there was this isolated queen's pawn position, wasn't it? So actually, really nice idea here that this bishop c6 move, very common, to attack the rook and attack the pawn at the same time. And she attacks the knight and actually does a really good job here. Bishop takes d5. Really good move, bishop takes d5 here. The idea being after queen takes bishop, well, you can just take the knight. And you probably take it either way, actually. Rook takes knight, I think, is going to be a little bit better. And you're a pawn up as white. So unfortunately, the IQP here, lots of ways of winning it. Lots of ways of it being positive as well. But it looks like in this particular game it's been a bit of a weakness. Knight f6 has just been played. And actually, did I speak too soon? Oh no, there's going to be a horrible tactic coming. You ready for this horrible tactic? How does white save this bishop here? Can you see if you're in the chat? Talk to me, I haven't said anything for a while. How does white save this bishop? This is horrible. If the game ends like this, I'd feel so sorry for Angrad. But it is a tactical idea that you have to know. Please no. This is... How does white save the bishop? Or save the pawn, shall we say. I'm going to let you have a clue. c4 saves the pawn. I'll tell you the answer. Knight takes bishop, pawn takes knight, queen takes pawn, and now what? What happens next? If you haven't seen it yet, then the answer is this horrible move, rook e8 check. If rook takes rook, we just take the queen, and there's no back rank. If the king moves, we take the rook behind the queen. Nasty stuff. Nasty stuff this is, and I'm guessing that Julio is just kind of calculating this, thinking, how do I keep this pawn up? Can't move the bishop away, because then queen takes queen, pawn takes, and then rook takes, wins the pawn back. Might be a decent endgame, bishop against knight with rook e7 coming, but not winning is the point. Actually, this might also win, because after this, and then rook e7. The f7 pawn and the a7 pawn are under attack. The only move to save both. Rook d7, and then you could throw in this intermezzo check on f7, and then take the rooks off. But I would prefer the other way because wherever the bishop goes, c4 is the move that I want to play here because I quite like this endgame. Although maybe this is not as easy to win. Suppose black doesn't take the pawn. But there's a huge chance here she takes this pawn. But okay, we'll come back to that and see what happens. And this game is still looking very drawish. So that's the Gilbert. Where are we at with the Robinson? We had a lot of games here. Oh, Yaroslav is still fighting against Zach Welling here, and he's got his knight in to do a check, but that's it. Yeah, this is looking very bad for Yaroslav. I think Zach's got control here. I mean, if he gets to play like f3 and f4, White's got all the control. The exchange up, the b7 pawn is gone. He's got to play maybe knight d6 then, but just simply f4, f5, and what is Black doing? It's very simple for White to play. So not much chance there, I'm afraid. Hang on, what happened here? This was a draw. How? Oh, this is a different game. Okay, so this is a draw. So let's have a look at this one. Okay, hang on. What happened here? b4. So knight a4 is what I assumed was going to get played here by Bismuth, and he went bishop a6. Oh, of course, this was the game where he had the rook and pawn. So this should be good for Black. And what's happened here is he's just exchanged off too many pieces. With the exchange off the pieces, he's also lost the a7 pawn. And now, White can be pretty happy with how this has gone. Because he's got great drawing chances here. Probably should still be one for Black, especially with this pawn on e4 being weak. But maybe he's given it a good go and he's just thought, okay, I'll just have a draw. But yeah, missed opportunity there, I think, for Arnav to push forward. Bismuth sacking the knight and bishop for a rook and pawn did not seem like the greatest one at all. And how on earth is Arush surviving still here against Aditya Mittal? And the answer is he is not surviving. He's just a rook and a bishop and a rook and a pawn down. And okay, he's got an outside chance of some sort of nasty stuff on this diagonal, which is probably why he's playing on. But essentially he's lost. And David Bolochkin with the two rooks against the queen. Okay, so how did the piece get gone? So in the end, after rook, he did play rook e1, which is a suggestion from the chat, but maybe the other rook I put on the board. Bishop g7 got played, which is a nice move actually. And the knight on a8 can't be saved, and so therefore he had to give it up. And now a queen and knight will beat two rooks, and you're just seeing some technique here. Okay, the king's not getting checkmated, the queen is covering the d8 square, so that's not going to happen, but the king can also come out to e7 too. This should be an easy win for Black. He's just got to be a little bit careful, just to make sure he doesn't give any tactics away there. Okay, Rocky versus Igor Semenyov. This was this amazing game that we saw here. So at this point, after queen d4, he sacked an exchange and gave another check, brought his queen in and some more checks. The exchange got sacked back, and he's trying to survive here. And I'm guessing here at this point, rook takes f4 might be a move. But they might get met by queen d5 check, actually. I missed this. Queen d5 check. When there might be some checkmates coming that way. So you have to be careful here as Black. But what a fantastic game this is between these two players. In fact, I'm probably going to say it's one of my favourite games of this round for sure. Here we have this knight v bishop endgame that we mentioned before that's looking like it's about to spice up. Probably need to come back to it in half an hour though, while we go forwards. And I'm just going to go and take a little break after looking at the Stokes. So here, George Zhao is just going to win this king and pawn ending against Adam Sarwar. Well fought, Adam. You're taking your time here and you're trying your best, but this endgame is going to be lost for you. So therefore, it will be 6-0 England against Wales in the Stokes, and they've won that section. What other games are going on here? Scotland versus the other England team. We've got 2 games going on there, 3 games going on, but Arab's got 2 queens against Adith, so I don't know why they're playing on, but Junyan won, and okay, so Harao Yagagi did win that, did he? Is that a win? How has he won this game from here? King G6, and this is 1 for black. How? Maybe he ran out of time or something, I don't know. Okay, let's down this round, and that game now at the bottom was a draw. Black getting a lot of checks on the white king. So what's the points there then? So that's half, 1, 2, 2.5, 2.5, 1.5 to England against Scotland in the Stokes, and that's England B with this game here. So this is Junyi versus Tavish Relwani, and this French defence, is this how this? Oh, this is the early C takes D4, which isn't quite as good as it. So white had a big advantage here coming out of the opening, and black managed to stable it here, so taking this knight off. The knight is a good piece, but the bishop's also one of white's main attacking piece, and that just freed up the position for black's forces. And look at this bishop on c3, just attacking all these dark squared pawns. This is not really what you want. Not the best bishop in the world, so black's got a lot of freedom now, and okay, starts to drive in, attacks this pawn, loses a pawn in the process, and loses a piece actually. So knight and bishop against the rook, but white's king is quite open here. This is still all to play for in this game, so Tavish and Junyi really having a good long game here, a proper game of chess, shall we say. And Advik and Ayan are alongside with them as well, having another proper game of chess. Here, 2 rooks and a bishop each. Pawn structure's a little bit messed up. Anything can happen in this game. But let's just have a quick 5-minute break. I'll put the Glorney on because we'll come back to that. But it's like it's looking like it's going England's way from what I could see. England are 2-0 up with 3 games left to play. And I don't know if I want to put Bence's game on because bishop takes g2 looks like a really nasty tactic that's just come his way. Yeah, that's not looking good. Let's put this game on. Maybe the only game that we have a chance of winning is Wales. Oh, maybe Ellison's got a chance too, but we'll leave this game on for a second and we'll be back in a few minutes. And we're back, eh? So, take you through for the last 45 minutes of these games. Don't think we're going to see much overall change in what's going on. So even though Chen got a slight advantage here with this White King being slightly weaker, it's probably not enough to win this. I'd still say this is probably likely to end in a draw, especially if Dylan looks at the other games, seeing that they're 2-0 up at the moment. He's going to be quite happy to take a draw here, whereas unfortunately he has to play on for a win. Maybe he can try something sneaky like this, but I just don't see it working. I'm going to have to really work hard to do this, especially with a low time. Bence is just fallen for this Queen A4, and then the black piece is able to shift over this side of the board so quickly. Bishop takes G2 worked, and then Queen here, and checkmate threatened, can't defend the bishop, and that was not looking good. And Rook H1 is unstoppable, mate. So that's going to be 3-0 to England. And with that, I'm afraid that means that it's going to be another Glorney Cup that Wales have not won. However, it is new winners this year, because last year Scotland won the Glorney Cup. So I do have to say congratulations to England when this game does finish. So not just yet. And how's Ellison doing against Kyle? Well, this game is still in the mix. Ellison's really low on time, but he's still holding it. Is he a pawn up? Or is a pawn up? Yeah, but the pawn's doubled, so it doesn't really matter, and it's doubled in a bad way. So we can't really use it. At least it's stopping the bishop coming into this square, but apart from that, it's not really doing much else. The two bishops for black are pretty good. They've got some good diagonals to move down, but it's still a level game. I can see a draw being agreed. And okay, here, this game's been a draw. So because this is a draw, England got 2.5 points. They got an extra match point. They can't be caught. Congratulations, England have won the Glorney Cup. They cannot be caught now. In fact, just having a little look around, does that actually conclude everything here? England A have beaten Wales, so they've won the Gilbert Cup as well, the A team. They've also won the Stokes Cup because they beat Wales 6-0. And then in the Robinson, I believe. So England have won that one to 2.5 because Smith drew. 3.5 with 2 to play. They're going to win board 6 as well, so they've 3.5 with 2 to play. England have won the Robinson as well. I believe that this is England A. I'm just double checking. Yeah, England. And just double check here from the Robinson as well. It wasn't anybody else that could get close, was it? Just refresh my page. For some reason it's not clicking. Robinson. Yeah, okay, so it was England's A. So England's A team has won the Glorney, the Gilbert, the Robinson, and the Stokes. And I think they had it most of their own way. I mean, they beat England B and Scotland 3.5, 2.5 in 2 of the games. They might have won by a heavier margin against Wales, and 4-2 against the international side, 5-1 against Ireland. It's looking like a similar scoreline against Wales. So they had it their own way there. Why is this not refreshing? It seems to be freezing up for me. But they've had it their own way there. But in the Glorney Cup, they definitely didn't have it there their own way. Wales really pushed them. Wales could have been an extra match point actually as well. So here we've got Yaroslav, who's just creating a few issues for Zach. I'm very surprised at these pawns on the king side. White had 2 pawns here. What happened to them? They're in some sort of position here. Okay, so one got taken, and then he decided to take the pawn on h6, which surprises me. I thought taking on b7 here might be a better option, and then taking on h6 later, because now the pawn on g4 went, and okay, he was able to win this, but this has made it really difficult for White to win this now. The bishop versus the rook, he's going to have to really work hard, and Yaroslav has done very well to get to this situation, because normally with the exchange up, he's able to maybe win a pawn on the king side and then win the game simply, but now all those pawns have gone. Yaroslav's got great drawing chances here against Zach, so he might even hold out in this game, but it should still be lost with best play, and it looks like that David is about to lose this game to Daniel Meredith. Yeah, he's definitely lost, unless there's some stalemate nonsense that goes on. We've got Rokyu versus Igor Semenov, and this game is still going on. This is this crazy game. How is it still exactly equal material? They've agreed a draw, and what a good game it was. I did thoroughly enjoy that one. And this is England versus Scotland. England are currently 1-0 up with one. Yeah, lots of draws. 1-0 up for England. This is England's B, by the way, with one game still to play. And knight d6 check. Is this the moment actually where Yuan Ding as black here just starting to seize an advantage? Because if king d3, knight takes bishop, pawn takes knight, f5, h4, h5, the king cannot stay connected. And actually maybe even slightly better would be h5, h4 and then f6. The king can't stay connected to this pawn, and it gives you an extra tempo whenever you want it, and also maybe a pass pawn if you go this way. He's gone king e5 right around. This is a little bit of a mistake to walk into this. So knight king here, knight here check. So he's just walked into this. He needed to move his king to f3, walked into this fork, and now basically what he's saying is, if you take here and come to take these pawns, I'm going to come and take this pawn, and then this one and promote my pawn. So we've got a race. We're going to the races. So let's try and calculate this. So knight takes, pawn takes, king takes c4, king f6. King takes c3, king f7, king b3, king e6, king a4. And yeah, white's in time. White is in time. Wow. So knight takes, pawn takes, king takes, king f6, king c3. Wow. How is he in time here? This is amazing. So let's just play it through. Knight takes, pawn takes, king f6. Here we go. b5 takes, king takes, b5's the move, and then a4 is going to be too fast. Well, maybe it's not that as fast as we give it credit for. So you get to queen first if you go b5, but f7, and then you've got to know your you've got to know what you're doing here. Probably queen here, check, and walk the queen up, force the king to go in front of the pawn, and then try and win c3 and h3, sack the queen on f7. So that's difficult, that is. Oh no, we've got this on the board. So he's taken king here and he's played b5. So Yuan Ding looks like he's going to win this game due to that knight fork. Really nasty spot. A good spot there. We've got the Scottish team. Yeah, they're going to go down in that game, this round. They've got 4 draws, but they're going to lose 2 games. So they're going to go down to England B. Just confirming that David Blochkin lost to Daniel Meredith. So that's Wales half, England 4.5, with 1 game still to play, where England are better. All these games are finished. So this was Ireland against the international team in the Stokes. No, Robinson. We're on Robinson here, aren't we? The under 16. So this is international. We had 1 for Ireland, I thought. No? Loss. Okay, so the international team beat Ireland 6-0. That's a pretty big margin. The Stokes has finished, of course. Wales lost 6-0 to the England team, who are victorious. We've still got 2 games left between Scotland and England B. Scotland trying to get some wins. It's currently 2.5, 1.5 to England. So Scotland have to win these last 2 games to stand a chance of getting into it. Looking unlikely. Although actually here, that White King is a little bit not very happy, is it? And in that position, that the 2 rooks are pretty dangerous. That White King could get checkmated. And here, looking very drawish, but Advik Mattel has got a great chance here against Leon Pradhan. His King's active on a weak pawn. He's attacking this pawn here. Could happen. Scotland could beat England here. And in the international team versus Ireland, was it? Okay, we've got 2 draws here on these boards. And then we had a win for Ireland on the set board 2. However, the international team won 3 other boards, so that's 4-2 for the international team. Gilbert Cup, still games going on, I assume. Okay, so we did have a draw between May Katabi and Krisa Matraka, and Julio did beat. Oh, it was the tactic. It was the tactic that I said. He took here and took with the queen, and then rook e8 came. Remember this tactic. This is a horrible one. And yeah, okay, that's game over. So England have won that match. That was England B. They beat Scotland 2.5 half. England A, of course, beat Wales 3-0. We saw that already. And the international team lost to Ireland 2-0 with the spare game as well being played too. So that was that's the Gilbert wrapped up. And the Glorney is about to be wrapped up. James Merriman has won against Bent Sackmany. So that takes England to 3.5 points to Wales's half, with only 1 game left to play. And Carl Pelling is trying to beat Ellison here. The 2 bishops are pretty dangerous. Equal material though. So Ellison is still holding on. Hoping just to halve out now, I think, and get it done with. But a valiant effort from the lads. Owen Cave, Bent Sackmany, Chen Chen Wu, Ellison Smith and Ethan McGrath. They played so well all tournament. To give themselves a shot of actually winning it is really important. I would just like to go to this game here. There seems to be an extra knight that's appeared on the board, and maybe this we had the wrong position. I think by the sounds of it in the game between Janel Vidalia and Dreven Evans. So knight d1, knight e3, bishop h6 got played. The knight did go back to d7, not c4. It was White's knight that went to c4. And so, okay, so it's a completely different situation. And just look how blocked up this situation is now. This is all these pieces in this area of the board, both of them down to 1.5 minutes left on the clock. Anything could happen here. In fact, this is England B versus Scotland. We've got 4 games still going on. The bottom board was a draw between Dominic and Ewan. So these 4 boards are going to determine whether what happens between England B. Here, this one's also looking like a draw, though it's same colour bishops, so we could see a winner there. Safia and Aditya. So Aditya is trying to beat Safia here. 2 pawns. I want to say should be enough to win, but this endgame could prove pretty difficult. But with the time advantage that Aditya's got, I'm thinking he might drive that home. So that could be 1-0 Scotland. This game is looking like a draw. And this is Jack Lee against Aryan Munshi, and this game is also looking like a draw as well, although there's a little tactic here of taking on e7 twice and then taking this pawn on g6, which might just give Jack Lee a bit of an advantage, but I suppose that he misses it. And then in the Ireland versus international team match, we've got the international team are currently 3-0 up already with 2 to play, so they've won that match. And here Oliver Barnes is losing. Oh, he's going to king e6. I think here is going to be fine for black, and so it looks like that extra pawn in this endgame should be winning for Roman, but it's going to be a close call still. And the other board we've got this bishop and this pawn just haven't moved all game, but they're just so strong. So Vanek's lost an exchange here, or maybe sacked it, but these pawns are going to be so strong coming through. As long as he doesn't get his king in any difficulty, this could be a win for him. So that would be wrapped up. But they've already won the match, the international team have. But really, the excitement now is unfortunately away from Wales and England, because the match is already over, regardless of what happens in this. But the Scottish match is where it's at. So if you can convert this, then they're going to go one up. This one's looking like a draw between Austin and Zachary. Ruben and Janil are looking very, very level, very closed up. I can't really get my eyes focused on this. And then we've got this exciting match between Jack Louis and Ian Munchin. He's avoided this sack by moving this pawn forward. Still got 16 minutes left on this clock. So let's have a look at the time scramble between these two players, or is this them agreeing a draw? It probably is, I should imagine. Yeah, I think they probably agreed a draw there. So I'm going to flip over. So can Aditya convert this against Snathia? So the problem is the pawns are on light squares, so we can put up a dark square blockade. But the bishop's kind of trapped in on g2. I would have preferred the pawns to be level with each other, and you only move them forward once they're ready to. How did we get to this situation? We're here, were we? Okay, so this was the reason why. So he was probably able to sack something. So we had okay, so this is how we got to here. Okay, so this doesn't make sense. You play g4 here, not f3. You just allowed the blockade on the dark squares. And you got to this situation, and you're starting to regret getting into this situation, Aditya, and he's going to have a bit of luck here. Safia, though, with low time, could easily make a mistake. Anything can happen. So it's really Scotland v England as the England B is the only match left here. Let's just check on the other. All the Gilbert Cups finished, hasn't it? All the games have gone. Yes, they're all finished. So England have won that one. Robinson. Oh, we had Yaroslav trying to hold Zach Welling, so we'll look at that in a second. Yuan Ding was going to beat Raghuram Parasar because he's able to stop the pawn. Yes, that's going to be a win for him. That game was a draw. Anything on the second page? No, they'd all finished, so it's just Yaroslav here. And what's just happened here? Check and taking here. Very sneaky move, Yaroslav. You gave yourself the chance here by eliminating all the kingside pawns very quickly. And now this little tactic here is just about working. So king takes knight. The point is that b4 check. The king has to move away from the knight, and he's going to be able to do king takes knight here. So really resourceful play by Yaroslav. The opening was terrible. Absolutely terrible. You went exchange down because of it. And white should have been able to clean up there, but you kept yourself in the game. And now you're just taking this pawn here, and knight here check doesn't work because of king here. So I'm just wondering how you definitely got the draw here. You might even be able to turn this into a win, which would be an amazing result. Let me just double check that all of the Stokes games have finished. So yeah, Wales lost 6-0 to England. England are the champions. Okay, so we've still got England B versus Scotland going on. It feels like that this is the match. England B versus Scotland seems to be the. These are all finished as well. It's all England B v Scotland. So if you're a Scotland fan, then there's a lot going on. So this match here between Junyi and Tavish. I said that this king was looking a little bit ropey, but also this king now is also looking very holy indeed. Somebody feels like they're about to get checkmated. I don't quite know who it's going to be. Just about got this checkmate covered with the queen covering that way. So what is black? Oh, it's white to play here. What do you even play as white here? I guess rook takes h5 comes next. Well, white king is actually in a lot of danger. Maybe even just pawn takes pawn and then just queen e2. So he's gone bishop d6. Can't take it because it's mate. And I guess if he takes this way, he's at least got some protection on his king here, but queen e2 would actually be checkmate. if the bishop's on f4. So this is yeah, really tense game. I'm just going to flick over to Ian versus Advik. This is that rook and pawn ending. Advik's trying to push on, but what's Tavish going to do here with black? I think his extra rook's actually better here. I think the knight and bishop are not working well at all. In fact, just what happened here if we went knight g6 with the threat of queen here, checkmate? Has he just missed knight g6? This just wins, no? Because you can't go queen g8 because we take it. Go rook f8 and then rook 8 checkmate. So knight g6, probably the only thing that black can do is sack here and then sack here, but the problem is it doesn't work. Well, one, you've got check here, which is double check, and then you can save the queen if you want to, but you can probably also just win like this. But I can understand why you wouldn't want to. So knight g6 might have won there instead of bishop d6, but rook takes h5 has been played immediately. After bishop takes e5, he's gone rook g5 check. And black is surviving here, maybe more than surviving, and maybe Tavish is about to turn it round and put Junior under some serious pressure, because where does he put his king? Because the next move, rook f1 check, and he might start taking off a lot of stuff on f5, and I think that could be game over. Could be game over. Doesn't really matter where. Your king has to come out to e3 and then chop. Knight takes. You can't take with the rook because it's mate on g7, but you can take with the queen, and that would be game over. 2 pawns and the rook against the bishop is it. I think that's going to be a win for Tavish. He's seen this check. King e3 has been played. He just takes everything off on f5. Just make sure you don't take with the second rook so you get mated. That is going to be a win for Scotland, which would take this match actually to so 1-0 England, 1-0 England. So it's what, 2.5, 1.5 to England. That would take it to 2.5 all with this game still to play. And an extra pawn for white here. Advik is pushing forward. Scotland might get a victory against the England B team here in the Robinson. Advik is pushing this. He's got 9 minutes left. Threatening a pawn here, taking the 2 pawns up. Definitely one for him. I think Scotland are going to win this one. Well done. Glorney Cup. We know most of the results. Ruben and Janelle did take a draw, which means that their match against England, there's 2 draws on the board at the moment. But the other 3 games are really close, and the problem is here is that Aditya has sacrificed a pawn to try and get his pawn home. Does it work? So knight b3, f2, then knight d2 can be played, or knight d4 maybe. So maybe just bishop e2 here. Just bishop e2. The knight can't come close. If the knight can't come close, then f2, f1 in queens, and Aditya converts. So what happens after bishop e2? I can't see a move for white. If the knight can't get in, then f2, f1 is just winning. So I think Aditya is going to convert that. He's gone bishop c4. Now I think that's a mistake, because oh no, knight d2. Oh no, it works. It takes with check. Doesn't work. He's just missed a win, and that's a draw. Why not knight d2 here? Bishop c4 is just rushed. Knight here. And you can't allow knight takes f3, so you have to play f2. You've got 30 Aditya. This is Mr. Srivastava. You've got 32 minutes on the clock. Bishop e2. Because now the pawn is protected. If the knight comes close, you can just take it. And if knight c1, it doesn't matter. We're playing f2 next move, and then f1 queen. The knight can't come close. You can just take it. I guess maybe the... Oh no, the problem is that white would almost like it to be black to move here, because if f2 now, then they play knight d2. It still doesn't work because the bishop can move away, but something has to move away. Either the knight has to move away or the king moves away, and then f2, f1 is game over. So this is really, really stuff. Sathya, you are surviving by the skin of your teeth here, and this is a draw. This is surprisingly going to be a draw. Sathya holding this against Aditya. Scotland are not going to go 1-0 up in this Glorney match. We saw this yesterday with a stalemate trick saving half a point. Here, Sathya is with no time on the clock at all, with his opponent with loads of time on the clock, rushed his moves, and I'm afraid that it's going to be another draw. And yeah, absolutely criminal when you've got so much time left. You make these mistakes when you're younger. You try not to make these mistakes when you're older, because when you're older, you've got no excuse. When you're still under 18, we have to let you have some excuses. So that brings it down to the rest of the matches. So Jack Lee against Arya Munchie, the bishop pair not really proving amazing in this position for Jack Lee. And yeah, I mean, anything can happen, but the likely result is going to be a draw. So that leaves us really to the last game, which is Zachary and Austin. Which, oh, this, what is this? This could be. This could be one actually. These endgames are so important to learn. This could be one. So hang on, so white is Zachary, black is Austin. I think he doesn't want to move his bishop here, but I think he might have to. The problem is, I think maybe just bishop a8 or something like that, because he's got to keep control over this square because he can't allow the black king to get to e3. The king gets to f4, it's okay because the white king can get to d4. So I think he's okay here, depending on where he moves his bishop. He's got 11 minutes to think about it to get this right. You can't allow this king to this square. Okay, so he's gone c6, the king's gone to f4, so this king will come to d4 now. You see how the king can't get in? But maybe bishop e2, bishop f3 is going to win. So bishop e2, bishop f3 is potentially going to win for black. And Austin could score a win here, and we're right here. This has been a draw agreed. At missed opportunity. Let's just put the computer on here. Was I right that bishop e2 is winning? So we went here. It wants bishop d3. Does bishop e2 also win? Yes, it does. So absolutely massive missed opportunity for Scotland to get themselves on the board. And it looks like that Austin has found the right plan here in this really close endgame between winning and drawing. I'm sure computer analysis will say it hovered over both. But same colour bishops. This is proving very difficult for white to defend, and I think that's actually game over. Bishop f3. I can't see a decent move for white to play to prevent it. And okay, actually now bishop f3, bishop h3. Sorry, too much commentary after a few hours. Maybe this is surviving. Bishop f3, he can put his bishop back to this square or up to this square to keep himself ready to sack the pawn. And he can't get his king in. So it's a case of, though, the bishop comes back this way. Actually, let's put the bishop on a better square. Let's put the bishop on, well, it only needs two diagonals. And now the point is we want to go king here, king here. And if we can do that, we can then get the bishop in. I don't think the bishop's got enough diagonal to defend. But how does it actually work? There we go. So suppose that something like this happens. Okay, the king's moving around. You threaten the bishop. The bishop moves away. Okay. Let's ignore that this is a check. Let's put the king somewhere else. Put the king on c3. When we bring the bishop in, bishop goes away, bishop comes down, bishop has to go this way to defend on the long diagonal, and then we play bishop here to bring the bishop back. And he hasn't got time to move the bishop round to another square because the king has got g2 covered. So this is one for black here. And I guess it's going to say is that, yeah, one for black. Okay, so this means that Austin should win this one, which means that Arjan has to win this as black, which does not look likely. Jack Lee can actually consolidate here and do everything he wants. Okay, Carl versus Ellison. Okay, so Carl's managed to win a piece and is trying to win this game. And has he got enough pawns left on the board to win it? I think so, just about. Yeah, I think he's going to just about win those. Let's just have a little look around. There was still some more games going in the Stokes, wasn't there? The Gilbert finished. Sorry, the Robinson. Stokes is all finished. So Yaroslav was trying to hold out here against that Welling and was done a really good job in the last few moves. And yeah, that is looking like a draw. The rook can sack for the 2 pawns if it needs to. As long as Yaroslav doesn't mess up here, of course, which I don't think he will do. I don't think he needs to actually try and win this. He can just... Rook v knight should be a draw anyway, but I've seen people lose them. You know who you are. So that should be a draw there. Any more games going? They've all finished. So we go back. Let's go back to the Glorney and watch some of these games to completion. We'll finish the stream at 2 o'clock anyway because we know what's going on. Unfortunately, it's England winning all sections. But really it's about this game here. Because we know that Austin's got a win here in this position. Just bringing the king to f2 is important. Maybe Jack Lee is trying to win this against Ayumuchi. Change a couple of things. Not a bit better, maybe. I go over to chess results and scroll down. Can we still see all of the? We can. Okay. Okay, so this is good actually. Let's just have a quick look at who the top scorers are. Might still change because we've got still games going on, but in the Gilberts, if we look, so we know that England have won, but England's won all their last 1 matches. So Anum and Michelle got 4.5 out of 5. So they would be doing well. Angrad's Hunt. How did you go on? Lost, I'm afraid. So 4.5, any more than 4.5. So they're the top 2 scorers, and then Sheikh and Michelle Chan in the Gilbert, 4.5 out of 5, with 4 out of 5 for Emily Matson as well. Robinson still got some games going on here. But so Daniel Meredith got 4.5 out of 5. We know for sure. Aditya Mittal. It's no surprise that the England teams have got the biggest scores when they have won all the events. So how did Aditya Mittal do? I'm looking at the right area. Robinson, yes. Robinson. Is anybody on? So David Bolochkin lost his last game, so therefore he's not on 4. He's on 4 out of 5. Nicholas Kowalski might be on 4.5. I believe he is. Rock U. I don't think Rock U won. It's drawn. Okay, let's stick with one game. C3. Okay, hang on. Knight there. D6, knight takes rook. He's trying to win this, Yaroslav is. D6, knight takes rook, D7. You've got knight E6 covering the pawn, so he's okay. He can't play C3 check because, well, it's pinned. So he's trying to win this, which is mildly amusing, but also possible. Maybe we're about to see one of the best comebacks I've ever seen. I don't see how he wins it though. Maybe this rook just comes back this way and they agree a draw. So let's go back to the Glorney. This is where the matches are. And it was Zachary. Oh no, he's not brought his king forward. So why did Austin... So he's gone bishop e4, but the problem is he needs to get his king here. So the actual move here was bishop e2. And I guess the point is that maybe bishop g2 happens. And he can't do it. So actually no, it's not bishop e4. It's bishop c6 or b7, one of these two squares. And then this next move. And that can't be stopped. That's the way to win it. Whereas king e4, bishop e4, you can't really go here now, because you can't go here because the bishop's under attack. So he's going to have to, unless there's some sort of bishop sack, which I don't think there is, he's going to have to move his bishop again in order to get the king to this square. So king f3, move the bishop away, or move the bishop away straight away. Should still be winning for Austin. Should be easy to find. We've got Carl Pelling against Ellison Smith. Ellison trying to hang on, but this looks lost, I'm afraid. If this check comes in, that's game over. I don't see these pawns causing enough of an issue, although I might be wrong there actually, because it means you might be able to swap off all the pawns and then the king will take this pawn at the end. So I think Kyle is struggling to win this. Oh, he has swapped off the bishops, but now g4, take the pawn, g5. I think the way to win it is to maybe, when this pawn gets here, just play h5. And by keeping the h pawns on, it's the right colour square for the bishop, so he can just take this pawn off, leave this pawn to be taken, and actually the bishop and pawn bring the king over. Although, maybe the pawn on g5... Yeah, he has to give up the g-pawn, doesn't he? Oh, he's moved his king the wrong way. With the time ticking down, he's gone the wrong way with the king. I think he could have just taken that pawn then. He could have just taken it quite simply, because it's the right colour square for the bishop. So the simple way to win this, king takes a4. This doesn't work because you push forward. You play g6, he just takes it. King here. And then just move your bishop to this square, bring the king in, and it's the right queening square for the bishop, so it's easy to win. Just double check in here, there's none of this nonsense, is there? It doesn't work. Just g5, just take it. h6, you're not going to be able to sack it at all, it's not going to work. So that was a simple way. Instead, he's gone king here, and at g5 he's taken the pawn, which is a very big risk if you ask me. Why do this? So I guess the point is that this one doesn't help because it doesn't drag the bishop away for you to win this guy. You've got to take this pawn here, Ellison. You have no choice. Otherwise the pawn moves forward and queens and you lose. So he's going to use the king to come and take this pawn, which just about makes it in time. So he's chosen, so it does win for black. It's unlucky. What? Has he just played king d4? Ah, so now after g6 he can actually just save the pawn on e3. So maybe a5 here then. There's so many different ways to win these or mess them up as well. A5 here, the king gets closer to this pawn, so it's not too bad. Okay, let's look at Jack against Aryan. And Jack is really working those dark squares. That black king is looking pretty weak. I think Aryan has to win this because even though there's draws in the two boards below and board 5, I'm pretty sure that Austin's going to win this one. The bishop moves away. King f2, that should be a one endgame, but he could have done it quicker. The king now reaches f4, which does cause some issues. But I still think it's one for black here. So this game is what it's all to play on. Scotland versus England B in the Glorney. And you can catch this over, obviously, on Live Chess. There is also a different link. But I think we are pretty much going to wrap up our coverage here. Overall, the main game was Wales versus England A, and England A have won. In the end, it's 3.5-half to England at the moment, with one game still to play, which England are winning, so it should be 4.5-half, which sounds like a bit of a drubbing, I'm afraid, and I guess it technically is. But there's some really hard-fought games there. I thought Bence had a good opening. Thought Owen was okay at the opening as well. And Ellison wasn't doing too badly until this time scramble. But okay, well played to the England teams. They've won all 4 sections quite comfortably in the end, and done played really well. We'll end the coverage for that today. Looks like it's been a great event over in Hull just before the British, so it should have been a nice venue. And I look forward to seeing more of this event being played in, and actually hope that we get more teams in it, expand it up again so that like France, Holland, Netherlands, Belgium come into it, because a trip abroad is always quite nice for as juniors, and it should definitely be prioritised as one of the best ways for some of these England players to get caps to play for England. To be selected to play for an England team is also quite a big deal as well, because they're competing against some complete prodigies that are like 2200 already by age 10, which is difficult to compete with. But I tell you what, well played to all the juniors here. A lot of them need to take more time over their moves in order to improve. It's a very simple thing to do, simple for us to say. But well played to all of them for their hard work, and good luck to any of them that are playing in the British. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. I'll catch you again soon. Bye bye.